Remember when we used to listen to that 6-hour podcast?
I still do. I really do. I listen to it on 1.75 speed to try to get through it in a brisk 3 hours and 45 minutes or whatever.
How does comedic timing? How do you have
it's fun? Like, it all depends on how fast somebody naturally talks. If somebody's naturally a fast talker, it's impossible. But if people are generally kind of slow, like me, it works out pretty good.
When next time you say that, you should add generally slow talker like me.
Yeah,
it's gonna. That's
no. I'm good with either version of that.
Okay, hey, you're good. I'm good.
I'm talking about myself. I can't be insulted by my own words.
I like that attitude. All right, it is Thursday, November the 12th. This is GameEnthus Podcast, episode 422. I'm Aaron, one of the hosts here. Tiny is here.
Hey, I am here, and boy, are my arms tired. I got nothing.
It gets funnier every week. I gotta tell you,
It's been a long week. I mean, it's been a lot of long weeks, but I haven't slept a whole lot because
it's been a long decade of a year.
I wanted an Xbox One and a PS5, and I got neither. So
I didn't try, and I got neither. So it's crazy, and it's weird that I didn't try.
I mean, that's kind of how that works out. I mean,
it's generally how that works out. But anyway, so yeah, I am here. Hey, what's going on?
Mike is also here.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Tell me the name of the movie, Marcy.
You remember at the end? Not I haven't to read this, but remember at the toward the end of that, it was like, "Hello and welcome to AOL Movie Phone." Like,
yeah,
AOL bought Movie Phone.
AOL bought everything.
Or they owned.
AOL owned a lot of things, and they sold them off eventually.
Yep.
So
it all worked out well for everybody involved.
Absolutely. I dialed it this morning just to see what was playing at my local theater.
Anyway, we're always here, but Ross is joining us. Ross,
what's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing well. Let's ask Jeeves something. Right, Joe? Am I being on point?
Oh man, wait a minute. I got to check web crawler and see what's up.
What's going on with Alta Vista?
Lycos. I'm just saying.
Man.
So for those who do not know you,
saying old.
Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and why you have so many Harry Potter boxes behind you.
That's totally fair. There are a number of them. Cool. So I'm Ross Thompson. I'm a marketing manager at TheOp, or Usaopoly, as you may know them. I've worked in the gaming industry about 12 years. I think if I had to put an actual number on it. I've gone from being a volunteer for Privateer Press to working at the local game shop to working at a number of game companies, and now I've found myself with TheOp. It's been 2-3 years, which has been super cool. I'll just go into it. Along with that, I for the last 10 years, I also ran a gaming convention here in San Diego called the Kingdom-Con. It was I think we ended at 1,500 people was our final number. It started out with 200, and then over 10 years, all the friends and clubs helped out. We had a really cool gaming scene. For that, we ended our 10th year last year just due to timing stuff, which then ended up being pretty good for timing considering everything that happened this year.
Right.
And then also, let's see what else. I've been really doing a lot of panels lately, so I've been kind of a moderator extraordinaire, I guess. I'm doing panels for Comic-Con and for a couple other shows, bringing on tabletop folk. So we just had a panel for people of play for Shy Tag with the whole celebrities and Twitch and RPGs and stuff. So that was pretty cool. So it's been fun doing that. But for the Harry Potter games behind me, I'm representing TheOp, and so we've been in business for 26 years. People pretty much know us from our licensed classic co-brands with Hasbro, so like our Monopolies, our Clues, our Risks, Yahtzees, and so on. But we also do a large number of hobby games. So you may know us from like Thanos Rising or Hogwarts Battle. And then recently this year, we also launched a whole new...
Uh-oh. Ross,
Oh, did I drop?
We lost you for a second. Yeah, you're back. You're back now. Guys.
Not your fault.
You were at Thanos. You had hit Thanos and then Harry Potter, and then...
Got it. Yeah, it may do that. My internet's been... I mean, we got 3 guys here all on the internet all the time,
understood.
right? So,
yeah.
So we had the whole Rising series games, and then we have the Cody Chronicles line 2, which we just launched this year. So that's with like our Scooby-Doo, and then The Shining. It's a cool escape room style game from Fu Lim and Jay Cormier. So yeah, we've been doing a large stuff, and it's always exciting. I think people kind of know us for a couple things, but don't realize that we're a company of like 75 people, and we put out like 70 to 80 products a year, right? So
It's a lot.
we do all. We just announced Clue Villains. It's a Disney Park exclusive, right? Where it's a giant clue done in a big storybook, and we do. If you see Snap-on, they've got some board games. We did those for them and stuff like so. We do a lot of random stuff, but also a lot of really cool stuff. So,
how was it working with such, I guess, big IP? I mean, in terms of like getting approvals and things like that, or the companies just kind of say, "Hey, you have a license to use these characters. We trust you. Go for it."
I think it's a bit of both. And then, like, my main response to that is always on the licensor, right? Like we've worked with Disney and Marvel for a long time, so we know a lot of how they like us to share their stuff and do their things. Like with Disney, you can't have some character different movies in the same picture and stuff like that, right? So you got to like figure out different ways to do that there. Where Bob's Burgers, they're really cool and pretty carefree about how you do their stuff, but at the same time, like if you're like for a lot of our Bob's Burgers games, they love doing the art. So instead of having character art that we just pull from, they'll go, "Oh, cool! We'll just draw you a whole new Bob's Clue." Right?
Oh, that sounds awesome, though.
It's literally every Bob's Burgers games we've done. If you're a Bob's Burgers fan, you should just go pick up for the art pieces itself. We have a food fight game we did with them where it's like a whole dexterity based, trying to clear your board as fast as you can from the burger stuff, and they've got this whole scene with Bob and Linda and everybody all shooting mustard at each other and everything. And the Clue we did, to go back on that, like they should just make an epic that is that, because it plays literally like what everyone's up, like Professor Plum, the different characters and stuff. So you get to do cool stuff like that. And then we do a lot of Harry Potter too, right? So there's a lot of ways that we've learned to work with Harry Potter to bring it into this. So it's fun, you know, but everything also, like, you do have to get everything approved and you've got to get your own licenses that way. So sometimes I like saying I'm pretty jealous of companies that have their own IP, you know, where they can just kind of, hey, we're going to do whatever and post it up. And we're like, well, we got to make sure that we have it approved and it has the right hashtags and we're not doing stuff that Mickey shouldn't be doing. Right. So
understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it feels like so many companies have access to a lot of similar IP, but they're all doing something very different with it.
Yeah, it's been really neat. I think a couple of years ago when you said you were making a licensed game, people would really be like, "Oh, what is that? I really don't want to be a part of that." And there's been some really good ones, I would say, in the last like 8 years that have really changed people's opinions on that. Battlestar Galactica from Fantasy Flight Games, like that was one of the first good hidden role. What's going on? It played right into the theme, which was super good. Villainous from Ravensburger, you know, like that's been a really good one too. And then obviously with the op, like our Harry Potter Hogwarts battle game, that's been just a rocket and rolling. That's been 3-4 years now it's been out, but it's always doing really well. There's a handful of other ones too. Obviously, you know, Marvel is doing really well. Everybody has a Marvel game now.
They're sharing the wealth, huh? That's good.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's great. You know, I'm a big fan of the rising tide, right? Raises all boats. So, and there's so many games out there that the problem we have now is gamers is that a good game? Is do I have enough time and space on the shelf to get that game?
Wow.
The answer
right?
is barely, but you know.
Yeah.
Things can always be moved.
Yeah, they
Sure.
they get moved because they have.
And
to.
the one thing about the physical games, they generally take up a little bit more space than a small DVD-sized sleeve case.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it's funny too, because like we go into that. One of the big things I've been pushing lately, and my philosophy of that is like everyone is a gamer, they just don't know it yet. You know, and it's been this whole mindset. Like a couple of years ago, everyone's like, "Oh, the bubble's gonna burst. The bubble's gonna burst. The bubble's gonna burst." And it was like, well, what does that bubble mean? Like when Kickstarter came in, everybody was freaking out because retailers aren't going to be carrying those things and people are buying it too much and doing all that. But I think one of the unique perspectives we have at the op is we are always pushing our games into new markets. So like we get our games in like Bed Bath and Beyond. And we've got our games in Sprint stores, and we've got our games in all these places that you wouldn't think, oh, is a game going to do well? Like, and this is outside of our like our Clues and our Monopolies. Like we have some of our hobby games in there too, and they're picking up because people are seeing board games now and doing this, and we all have game night, you know, and then we all got Jackbox, and then even Among Us now is blowing up, and people are doing that. So it's pretty cool. I could talk about this forever, obviously. So it's kind of one of those fun. Like we've got a TikTok right now for Hues and Cues that just passed 1 million views. You know,
Wow.
So that's crazy.
And that game is like all, I mean, not all visual, but it's really about differentiating colors in various shades. It's a great game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that game is so cool. It was Hues and Cues. Scott Brady was the guy that designed it, and when he came and pitched it to Pat and I last year at a convention, remember what those were?
Oh
And,
yeah, those were fun.
Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, we got to do this game." And I'm like, "Cool, we're doing it." As he first off, as he was pitching it to us, a family walked by and asked if they could play the game, not knowing he was doing a game pitch. So for him, he was like already like
Really eavesdropping, weren't they?
people like to look at this thing, right? So, and it was a huge hit. So it's one of those games that I think is kind of, I'm hoping it kind of hits that Codenames kind of bit, where it's like it's that generational. Everybody can play it. Everybody gets what it is, you know. So
Sweet spot.
it's a good sweet spot.
Sorry, and you have a very diverse, catalog as well. You have the licensed stuff. You have the Hues and Cues. Telestrations is the op too, right?
Telestrations is the op too. Yeah, we just hit 11, 12 years on that game.
Wow.
I think it's in over like 50 different languages too, which is super neat. We have the base game, which of course, if I'm going to be full on op, we have the 6-player version, we have the 8-player version, we have the 12-player party pack, right? So there's all the different versions for that, and then we have the After Dark version, which comes with the glow in the dark coasters. And then we just came out with Telestrations Upside Drawn this year. And the game is meant for a lot of players to be in a tight space, so great for 2020.
It's like you knew it was gonna happen. Like,
Yeah,
I got a game for
but
you.
what's cool about that one is Kane Klenko designed the game, and he's a game designer who does a lot of really smart and clever games. He's also a banker for his profession, for his real job, and he designed the game because he was having somebody they wanted to sign a check. So he gave them the check to sign it. He pulled it away and they moved their pen wrong. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have an idea for a game. So what Upside
What?
Yeah. So what Upside Drawn is it's a team game. So we're 2 people playing, and one person knows the word and controls the board. The other person has the pen and is drawing and then has to guess. So all you can tell them when you're holding the board is up and down. So you're trying to draw the word
goodness.
while they have the pen. And there's phrases, there's nouns, there's locations, there's all kinds of stuff. And so on the board, we've got like a hot and cold too. So you can just move it and be like down, like cold, hot kind of thing, right? So
I feel like I need to see a YouTube video of people playing this. Like, the sooner the better.
We squeezed in 4 of us at Gamma in March. So if you go to the Board Game Geek page, you can see us playing. It was like that, and it was like on the Thursday of Gamma. So like everybody had like gone home because the COVID had just rolled in, right? And so it was kind of like Survivor's Day. But we're all hanging out, squeezing in super tight, playing Upside Drawn. And what's cool is the word. Spoiler alert. The word was horizon, but I kept thinking it was island or dawn. I just kept yelling out like dawn, island, and Pat's just like, I want to hit you so bad, and you can like see his eyes start to twitch, and it's just like, oh, and it was funny because the chat is just blowing up with, oh my gosh, it's this. So what's cool is because we're all playing in a group and we all have the same word. You know, some people are screaming out different stuff, so you're not supposed to listen to what they're saying, but of course you're going to listen to what they're saying. So yeah, it's really good. It's one of those games that I think obviously would have been I've had COVID not hit, it's a good game night game, but we're still going to push it and rock it out. So yeah, Telestrations has been doing really good. It's great. And also on that too, it does really well on TikTok. So because it's the flip and the look of the whole thing. I know I keep bringing that up, but TikTok's doing a whole tabletop celebration this week and next week where they're going to be promoting those things super hard. So it's going to be kind of cool to see how that picks up. You know, everyone's a gamer, so we got to get those under 30 guys playing games. So it's all good.
All right. So when you are not being pitched to and doing things with the op, what are you normally up to? Like what's going on as of late, I guess.
So as of late, I've been doing a lot more miniature wargaming.
Tiny. You heard that, right?
Yeah. Tiny. Yeah, totally. So funny enough, I got my start in the industry by working at Privateer Press, like forever ago. So I'm a big Warhammer guy, big minis guy. So when everything hit and it got shut down, I'm a very social guy. So I kind of got my gaming club back together, and we've been doing these hobby hangouts on Saturdays. Okay. So I've been hosting a little hobby hangout from like 1 to 5. So the first part of from March to July, I painted my entire Stormcast Eternals army for Age of Sigmar.
How many pieces is that? I'm not a Warhammer guy, so
that's all good. It was probably about 70, 75.
That sounds like a lot
40,
to me.
40 millimeter dudes. I had a couple big dragons, some stuff like that. And then when the Indomitus box, which is the new 40K box for 9th edition, came out, I was like, cool, I'll play some Space Marines. They weren't going to be my main army. I've been collecting Gene Stealer Cult for a long time, and I'm like, oh, this will be great. I'll have some cool Marines I can fight with my Gene Stealer Cult. And then my buddy's like, oh, you should read about Size of the Emperor. They're one of these off chapters for the thing. And I fell in love with them, which then provided me I've been buying all these Shapeways, little chapter badges and extra size and all these things. So I just finished converting this whole army. And I was just priming it today during lunch. So that'll be a whole paint scheme thing I'll be doing there. I also do a lot to switch gears. I also do a lot for the SCA, which is the Society for Creative Anachronism. So it's a big medieval reenactment organization. And they've been around for like 50 years. So back when we used to gather in person, I was in armor probably twice a week. So I used to run a sword fighting class at my house on Mondays, and I would do it from 7 to 9. I have like 4 pels in the backyard and a bunch of training swords, so I teach people how to sword fight.
I'm sorry, SCA stands for Society for Creative...
Anachronism. Not anarchism. But
very different. Very different.
But I would say, though, if the apocalypse does come, go find your local SCA folk, because we're prepped. We're ready, right? Like, and not in a weird way. Like we're all good to go. So,
I'm sorry. So I don't want this to sound reductive, because I don't know a whole lot about that. It's okay. Is that analogous to like LARPing? Is that like? So
a good question, right? So I'll dive deep, no problem. So on a total side note, I used to run the SCA's social media internationally for like 7 years. So I love this kind of chat, right? So what it is the SCA was around before LARP and before Ren Fair. So they were kind of like the progenitor to a lot of that stuff, right? They got started pre-LARP, totally. They got started from essentially a backyard party in Berkeley in the 60s, and then became an organization because if you want to go to parks and rent things, you have to get insurance. So they had to make a nonprofit, and then they started making all these different chapters or kingdoms around the whole world. So now in the SCA, there are 20 chapters that cover the whole U.S. There's about 80,000 registered members diversified across the whole thing, which is super cool. And each chapter or kingdom has their own history and their own story and how they were formed and stuff like that, which is really cool. So where the LARP aspect comes into it is in the SCA, you can register your own heraldry and your own name to it. So I am Tiberius Finn, which my name is a 14th century English dude. And then my heraldry is a raven rising sinister holding a mug overflowing on a azul banner with red pylons, which really is a drunk raven on the Ferrari background. So,
all right. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And then the other non-LARP part about it is you bring yourself, right? So you aren't like a level 80 wizard or anything like that. And not that that's an arc on people that LARP. Like, I'm all for people having fun and doing what they're doing.
Shout out to Cody, by the way, friend of the show, Cody.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm big on Amtgard and Belagarth and LARP and Vampire, everything there, right? So like you let your nerd flag fly, you know.
Yeah.
But for this, you bring your skills there. So there's the cool thing, kind of how I describe the SCA is it's a medieval sandbox, right? So you show up and you can do whatever you want. So there's going to be weekly guild meetings and practices. There's going to be monthly tournaments and events you can go to, and then like quarterly wars, right? And the wars are kind of like a big camping Ren Fair tailgate, you know. And at these wars, there's fighting going on, and depending on how big it is, like so we've got a war that's in October between Kaid and the West, which is NorCal versus SoCal, right? And it's like a 3,000 person camping event, but we'll get like 500 to 600 people on the field fighting, and we'll do fighting from like 10 a.m. to like 2 p.m. in like full on medieval, you know, thing. And we're like 15-minute rounds. And how the fighting works is if you get hit hard enough where you think you would be dead, you're out. So
That's
it's
an interesting honor system. Yeah.
It's an honor-based system. So the marshals cannot call you out. Other fighters cannot call you out. Only you can call yourself out. But if I know I hit you hard enough, and you know I hit you hard enough, but you didn't take it, that's kind of saying I can hit you harder, right?
Okay.
Right, or if my buddy,
dark.
yeah, right.
Wow.
So like that's kind of how the fighting system goes. And the cool thing is there's tournaments, so there's one-on-one fighting, and then there's big wars. So like we have army practices and brigade practices where like my 10 buddies, we're all part of the same war band. We'll fight with 3 other war bands that are all like 10 people. And now we have a brigade of like 40, 50 people for San Diego. And then we'll go join the rest of Southern California to make an army of like 200 people. And then we'll go fight against the West when they come there. And then we'll do like castle battles or capture the flag type scenarios where you hold the thing, or just attrition stuff. Or yeah, so there's all of that. But then at the same time, you could just show up and just day drink. You know, you could just do that and just be in garb and hang out and do whatever. Or there's arts and sciences classes you can go do. There's competitions you can enter stuff in. There's all these things there. And then at the same time, with all of this, more of the LARP sort of aspect to it, it's a peer rewarding peers-based system, right? So it's all volunteer-based. So someone has to put the event together. Someone has to sew the clothes. Someone has to make the armor. Someone has to teach the things and run all of that. So there's an award system. So you can write in awards, oh, this guy, Joe, he helped run the event. He's been doing event running for the SCA for 3 years. He should get a service award, right? Oh, there's this woman. She's really great at fighting. She should get a fighting award. Oh my gosh, this person made the 16th century Italian dress. They should get an award there, right? So there's every 6 months, there's a crown tournament, and whoever wins crown becomes king, and then their consort becomes queen. So then at these courts, because every big event will have a court, and everybody will go up and the king and queen will sit down, and then they'll say what's happening in the kingdom and the latest news, and then they'll call up people to give them awards. Whether it's like an AOA where it's like your first time you're here, you've been coming for a little while, oh my gosh, you're awesome. Here is your award at arms. We now task you with finding a name in heraldry for yourself, right? And then there's different tracks you can go down for awards. So there's a service track, there's an arts and sciences track, and then a fighting track, which is super cool. And then at the end of each of those tracks, the best way I found to describe it, but it's not the same, would be like getting your Eagle Scout kind of thing, right? Where so at the end of each of those tracks, there's you can become a knight for fighting, you can become a pelican for service, and a laurel for arts and sciences. And essentially that's the order. So the other knights, the other laurels can then be like, hey, this person has done enough stuff and is warranted to become a peer of the realm. We would like to offer them accolade to become a knight and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I got knighted.
Organized.
It's and I think it's one of the cool things about the SCA is because the king and queen rotate every 6 months, because all the volunteer offices rotate every 3 years or so, and because it's a nonprofit with a whole board of directors and a whole thing there, it's allowed for the club to honestly survive, right? And then at the same time, they're slow but progressive, you know? So in the last few years, like we removed all the major pronouns out of all of our language. And it's now anybody can fight for anybody, right? So there's no, it has to be a man and a woman, that kind of stuff there. And while we deal with our own amount of, you know, reenactment issues, have those current issues that kind of roll in, we've been pretty good about knocking them down when they rear their head. So, yeah.
Wow. All right. I had no idea. It's like everything I had heard about LARPing. I know that's not LARPing, but from you know, the offshoot of this from friend of the show Cody, is like this is like a whole another layer on top. It's
and
wow.
I can even bring it back into gaming too. You ready? So
Go for it.
So Steve Jackson, the guy that made Munchkin, so he's played in the SCA for 40 years, and he helped found one of the baronies, one of the local groups chapters out in Texas.
Okay.
You know, which is super cool. Ross, who works at PSI, he's they're one of the distributors. He's a triple peer, so he's a knight, a pelican, and a laurel, which is super cool. And then there's a couple other SCA folk that all do board game industry stuff, so it's kind of a fun little thing there. Bijou Trimble, if you go look her up, she's the woman that saved Star Trek back in the 60s. She did the whole campaign to get the fans to write in to give it a third season. She founded one of the chapters in LA. So yeah, it's kind of a fun little
that is cool.
You know? Yeah.
It's unfortunate that you know, the COVID reality of right now is put a damper.
Oh, it's made it very difficult for sure, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, well, what do you do? But the fun thing is, we had been so technology averse for a long time. Like we had Facebook and social media and stuff like that, but really hadn't been going deep on Twitch and YouTube. But because we're all at home, the amount of SCA podcasts that have popped up, the amount of SCA Zoom panels that have now become YouTube shows have really popped up, which has made the community, which I've seen it at a level that was very small because I was looking at social media. So I kind of knew that there were a lot of influencers in each thing. Now, for people that weren't really paying attention to that, there's a couple of YouTube channels now that you can go listen to Dukes. So when you've won Crown once, you're a Count. When you've run Crown twice, you're a Duke. And there's all these videos now you can watch of just Dukes talking about, how to fight and their philosophy behind just community building and stuff like that. And it's from a whole different perspective, which is kind of fun because it shows like how big the geek community really is, right? Because like we can dive deep on vampire LARPs and dive deep on how Twitch has helped all these RPGs and how the Twitter community has given birth to all these D&D stuff. But at the end of the day, there's so many different facets of who does what and who does each thing. And at the end of the day, we all just want to have a good time. So, yeah,
that's true. I was going to say, Mike, did you want to update us on what you've been up to? Is Mike no longer? Oh, Mike, Mike stepped out. All right, I'll just jump in there. Birthday and anniversary are kind of close together for me, which is one reason why we can never do our extra life marathon, you know, on game day. So the wife and I just went to Virginia just to hang out for a night or whatever, and it was weird because we ate at this place called Founding Farmers, or there's a bunch of them in there. There's founders and distillers. Anyway, it's a nice restaurant, whatever. So we go there, you know, put our names on the list. And they have outdoor seating, you know, on the perimeter. So we're expecting to eat outside because, of course. So, of course, when our table was ready, they sent me a text. We walk in expecting the people to, like, come back out. And they walk us over to a table. I'm like, you want me to sit at a table and eat inside? It just felt so weird. But we were really hungry. And we were spaced out from other people. But it felt, you know, until the food, like, until I was actually eating, I was just like, this feels so wrong. I'm sitting there at a table with my wife with my mask on. Just like,
it's been a long time.
It felt weird, man. It was so odd. So, and then the night before, I had gone to Tyson's Corner, and I was just picking up some Shake Shack. I'm thinking Shake Shack is like, I don't go to Tyson's Corner very frequently. It's a big mall in Northern Virginia. So I'm just going, and I don't walk around the mall. It's not packed, but there are people in the mall. Which is also weird to be in a mall because it's been a long time. And the weird, I mean, I'll cut to the chase, but I couldn't find it. So they have all these like fancy kiosks and stuff where you can, they're resistive, so you don't have to use your actual finger, but you can use a touch screen and search for stores. And I kept noticing that Shake Shack was like, I used 3 of them to like, when you hit the search thing, the second icon is always Shake Shack. I'm like, is it that hard to find? So I click on it. It's like, go here, do this. That makes it draws a path for you. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
That's so crazy.
So I couldn't find it. I just finally, I'm an idiot, so I walk around maybe a little bit longer than I should. I should just ask somebody. Finally ask somebody, hey, where's the Shake Shack? Like, if you go out of the mall, I'm like, wait a minute.
I was going to say.
Oh, it's at Tyson's 2?
No, I said Tyson's 1.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm
you
glad
were
you
in
said
the
that.
right facility.
Yeah, because we tried to go back to Tyson's 1 the next day when we were in Tyson's 2. And we're just like, you know what? Forget it. But anyway, so I finally got it, but it's nuts, man. It is nuts. Oh, Book of Nerds, John is popping in to say hi. He says Ross is a good dude. Played Twilight Imperium with him a few times. He's gonna head out.
Oh man, yeah, dude.
Thanks,
John,
John.
no joke, and Twilight Imperium too. Yeah, that's a
commitment.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny. We actually just John and I played back in February, but this past weekend I played Twilight Imperium for an Extra Life game.
Nice.
Extra Life.
Yeah, you were tweeting about it. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to peek in. I wish I would have because I've only heard of it. I've never played it before.
Well, it's probably my favorite game. Hands down, my favorite board game. Like no competition. That is my favorite board game. It's got galactic conquest. It's got political intrigue. It's got the tech building. It's got RTS. It's sci-fi, crazy cool. You can do it all. But it was one of those games where it's like, do I want to play it on Tabletop Simulator? I'm not sure if that's because there's so many moving parts to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But there's been this new mod that came out, and the mod is really good. Like, very, very impressed with how good the mod is on Tabletop Simulator. There's a lot of automated parts to it. It's really well done. So normally a game is 10 points, but because it was for Extra Life and 24-hour stream-based thing, we played a 14-point game. We ended up playing for 15 hours. And even in person, the most I'd ever played was like maybe 8, maybe 9.
15 hours?
So it's funny because normally on like a 10-point game, around that 5th point, people start scoring. People start like focusing up and they're like, okay, cool, I got to figure out how to jump points to get ahead in here and win. But we were at 14, so like that 5-point mark hit, people weren't really caring. It hit about 10 and we're like, okay, now we got to focus up. And it was like hour 11 at that point. And it was just there had already all the giant armies had formed and these things. We're just like, what is happening in this game?
How did you all you have to take breaks. You have to, I gotta get something to eat.
We played through, man. We played, we were having bio breaks and stuff like that, but the game's built where you can like stop at certain rounds and it's a good game. I if you guys want to play TTS, I would gladly do that.
Yeah, Aaron.
I would like to learn. I just don't know if I can dedicate
no.
that much time to one.
It wouldn't be a 15. We wouldn't be a 15-hour game because I would recommend we play a 10-point game, and that could be like maybe 8 max.
Hours?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you have an 8-hour window, you need to kill in a say Extra Life style.
That's exactly
scenario.
it, right? Yeah.
Aaron, you just signed up for 4 hours.
Yeah, I did.
For our game day.
But that would probably like 2 or 3 different games. But Ross, we'll talk. I'm curious. I'm curious.
I would love to be a chaplain for Twilight Imperium.
Is that like the equivalent of a DM? How does that work? Is that did he freeze?
I froze.
Sorry.
There you go.
No,
No
we're
worries.
back.
No. I sorry. That was me just dropping a weird word for promoting. No.
I
I didn't know if that was
gonna...
a role or I know almost nothing about.
Sorry, I've been watching too much 40K stuff lately, so Chaplain popped in my mind. So that's
Gotcha.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'll be brief. The other thing I was going to say: anybody ever see the original Super Size Me?
Yes,
We've all seen that.
I enjoyed that when it came out.
Yeah, I did too. I think many of us did. I didn't realize there was a Super Size Me 2.
Yeah, I saw that like this week, and I was like, "What is this?"
Oh, you saw it as well?
No, I didn't watch it. I just saw it on what is it, Amazon? or something like that.
It was for free on YouTube. I have YouTube Premium, whatever. So
it might have been on Peacock. It was on my cable box somehow.
Okay.
It was like, do you want to watch this for free? And I was like, what? He made that guy's still around?
Yeah, I didn't. That's funny. After I watched it, I went to look him up and realized that he like stepped down from his production company for like sexual harassment and a bunch of other things that are pretty bad.
Oh.
So I was like,
oh, so he's a really good dude.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we're talking
That's interesting.
Yeah, the premise is Big Chicken. You know, the companies with how companies are sort of shortchanging farmers and retaliating against farmers, and the whole premise is he's going to start his own fast food chicken place. Where the ironic thing is, instead of having all the lies, the restaurant is like so honest and truthful. It's kind of ridiculous.
People are still going to buy it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's like a pop-up kind of thing. Like, I don't know how serious he was about really. I mean, that's a lot of effort.
Business.
Exactly. I mean, launching a restaurant is, you have a less 50% chance of succeeding anyway, but a chain is a whole other thing. But it was interesting just to find out more about the fact that these baby chicks are growing to like the sizes they are in 6 weeks is just wow. Of course, like they've been genetically modified and everything else to do that, but that's ridiculous.
I'm gonna guess this was not part of the movie, having not seen it, but since all of the ramifications for what's been going on with COVID this year, I read a report months ago that I had no idea, but apparently it's very common that baby chicks are sent through the U.S. mail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
One place to another, and apparently the fatality rate is normally very low. This year, it's exceptionally high.
I can think of a lot of reasons why that might be.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think COVID was the reason there.
No, just delay, but like delays in the mail.
It's delay in shipping.
Right. But potentially COVID reasons for the delays in the general sense. So once I read all that, I was like, wow, I don't know. It's just stuff like you never think about, because why would that ever enter into your mind?
Yep.
You don't mail your family dog to your like aunt or uncle or something and say, hey, that's how we go on vacation, you know?
Well, you should go look up the rules and the laws on why they had to do that, because people used to mail their babies. So, yeah.
Well, I just want to ask the question when you say used to. Are we talking about like last week or like 200 years ago?
200 years ago kind of thing, right?
So I thought of.
I mean, that's still not cool, but
was it Henry Box Brown who wanted to? He was enslaved and he mailed himself.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think of people mailing their own children like that. A lot of context there.
There is, right? But there's a lot of rules on that. And so I think with the egg thing, I think there's some actual laws on the amount of time, like on the 18 days or something. Well,
speaking of regulations, one of the things he wanted to do is he wanted to be able to say that, things were organic and was it free range. So free range literally means they have to have enough space to have an option to walk around outside, but don't necessarily. Yeah, so that's like a football field length facility. You have like a little 2.5 foot area that is outside, fenced in, but it's outside. You can consider all those chickens free range.
Right.
Which is ridiculous.
As opposed to just being in a harness for, from like full grown to death.
Now, granted, that is freer than having them in the very small, cages. But yeah, it was interesting. So I don't know. I watched it in 2 parts. I was like, yeah, this is a movie. And then I looked him up and was like, wow, he's kind of a scumbag. So there we go.
Full circle.
Exactly. Grand opening, grand closing. So
it's like that scene where Grandpa Simpson shows up at the bordello,
just walks
and hangs his hat, turns around, grabs his hat, and walks right out.
That's right. All right, that's it for me, Mike. What have you been up to?
Oh my goodness! So I didn't write anything down digitally, but I made some notes about some random stuff I wanted to go through as quickly as possible. I promise you. The quickest of which is, I don't know why, but I got an email from GameStop today, and the title of the email is Victory Dance, the PlayStation 4 Pro is back in stock.
Well, thank God, because
and then I scroll down. It says starting at $399, and I'm like,
isn't it $1
what
less?
year is this
$100
from?
Less than
What?
the PlayStation
What is this?
5?
And it was like, no, this is literally the day before yesterday. Like,
no, I mean that's the same as an all digital version for PS5. So
yeah, like what are they doing? Like, what are they even trying to? I don't know. That was just a strange thing.
That is strange.
I'm
concerned about your inbox now. Go ahead.
I got my Mega SG in, which, as I mentioned, I think on the last show, I ordered specifically because I'm going to dip more than a toe into the analog, FPGA ecosystem, and get both of my feet wet, so to speak. And I got the Mega SG and the DAC. And a couple of days ago, I finally got around to plugging the DAC in. The DAC is so you can run an actual analog signal out to theoretically a CRT, display. And that's what I tried to do. And I thought this is gonna be great. It's gonna look really crisp and clear. All I got on my TV was a big blue screen that said no signal on it, but I heard the audio, so I knew something was happening. And it was so I go to the internet and I say, what's the deal? And it was, you need to update your firmware. Okay, sure, can do. Wait a minute. The only SD card I have is a 64 gig SD card. You cannot format a 64 gig SD card to FAT32, which is the only format that it recognizes. So you have to have something smaller than that, 32 gigs or less.
Okay.
So I was like, wait a minute. My wife used to have a digital camera that's old enough that probably has like an 8 gig SD card. So I'm like since the move and everything, I'm like, I don't know where this was. I'm like, looking everywhere I could possibly think of. I'm asking her, where do you think, what even happened to it? Whatever. She's like, I don't even know. Cut to the chase. I finally find this thing that I installed into my computer when I built it, which is a little plastic drawer that takes the place of a 5 1/4 bay. And I put all of the memory cards in there, and there was like 4 viable SD cards in the drawer. And I was able to like get that going and updated the firmware on the Mega SG so I could output. I haven't actually tried it.
Old Game Boy Advance case. Don't ask me why.
Oh, nice. Those are good cases.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I still need to actually try that out. But I have played a little bit of the Mega SG. I put more time into the Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist than I thought that I might ever do, because oh my lord, are those levels long. Like Turtles in Time, the arcade game, those levels are relatively tight.
Mm-hmm.
Hyperstone Heist is like, I'm like 30 minutes in and we're barely fighting Leatherhead. Like, what is going on here? So I don't know that I'm ever going to actually legitimately finish that game, but whatever. I got an iPhone 12. This is the first time I've ever gotten like a current model phone of anything. And
how's it feel?
It's mostly filled with a lot of, why is Apple so stupid?
All right.
Why is this expensive machine such a piece of crap? Like, it runs better than my intentionally software outdated previous phone that otherwise was great, but is now completely worthless because I unfortunately upgraded to current iOS standards. So I don't know. That's kind of where we're at in all of society, but whatever.
That's a weird, like, old man shaking fist.
Oh my god! I can't wait to be the oldest.
He's not even
man.
trying to pretend
like
it's not,
man, those security updates. How dare they keep doing this?
So I will say, A, you're not wrong. B, if it was strictly security updates, why does the phone work so much slower?
Well, because, for example, they have to, change one of the underlying systems because that was the vector for the attack. Or, for example, because weren't you rocking a 5? So, like...
It was the equivalent of a 6S.
Like, were you able to upgrade to the 64-bit version of the OS?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's part of that is going to be overhead on the processor that really originally wasn't forecasted for that.
Okay, the 64-bit architecture argument I will buy. But either way,
there's a lot of reasons. Like, yes, I mean, also yes, they are trying to protect their bottom line, but at the same time, your data lives on that device, so you want to probably keep it up to date. So
it behooves you.
Sure, but my biggest dilemma is my daily driver is a vehicle that has one way of interfacing with the radio, and that's a 3.5 millimeter jack. And that was something I installed on my own. Like, this wasn't even native to the thing. So normally I would plug in a power connector and then the cord for the 3.5 millimeter. That was my old phone. Now my options are I use that little adapter that I bought and I can plug it in, but I can't charge. And it works just as good as my old phone that way, which is when I get a phone call, I can use it the same way as I did before, which is just I hit answer the phone. I can talk. People can hear me and I can hear them. It comes right through the radio. It's fantastic. My next option is I've bought 2 different Bluetooth receivers, one of which works half the time and has no hands-free talking capability. The other works less than half of the time, has hands-free, but sounds like crap for both parties.
Interesting.
And apparently the temperature outside has a very big effect on how well what are my chances of connecting to this thing. It's frustrating. I'll just say that.
Gotcha.
Mike, if we could just hold on just for a second. I think Ross has to head out. So
okay.
If you want to say anything on your shout outs, plug all that kind of stuff on your way out, you are welcome.
First off, thank you for having me on, guys. Like, this has been super cool and chill. I can definitely see how you guys just talk for hours.
And we do.
Which is rad. Like, I'm all for it. So let me know what games you guys want to play from the op, and we'll happy to send some games over to you guys. So you can hook it up if you want too, which is cool. But for us coming out, we just announced the Batman Who Laughs Rising today, so that's super cool. So you can get it on the op website and do all that. We've got a few more that are on the way this year, so I'm sure your audience will love the Hallmark Holiday Edition Monopoly. It's a really good one. And we've got a couple. Is
it based on any of the Hallmark movies, Ross?
Oh, totally. Oh, it's best, man. You got to get that community chest card with a guy in a plaid shirt and truck, right? So it's just
that's a staple.
He learns the real meaning of Christmas.
Oh, totally, right?
Real fast note. I went to a Hallmark store just a couple of weeks ago and bought a card for my goddaughter. And when I made a purchase for a Hallmark card, they handed me a schedule of Hallmark movies from Hallmark Channel to make sure you watch all of these Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, all right, I got it. It's handy in case I need to watch anything.
There's apparently a convention where they all meet. It's like a Hallmark con, and they have this whole
that makes perfect sense.
We were going to go. Man, COVID, I wanted to go to Hallmark con. I was super excited. It could have been a whole thing. It sounds like cheerful. I'd probably wear a little coat with the scarf.
If your hand is empty, just nutmeg. Just eggnog appears in it, and hot chocolate.
Eggnog appears magically, right? A dog runs up, and he's like, "Let's go find a lost lawyer lady," right? Like, let's go, man. Like, come on.
Are they roasting chestnuts?
They are.
Join in.
Anyway, so we got all that. So the Op Games, everything's on there. You can find us all on our social medias too, on Twitter and all that too. And then for me, if you want to follow what I'm doing, I'm almost Kirk on everything.
I meant to ask you where your Twitter handle came from.
Well, I was playing League of Legends with a buddy, and I was trying to figure out a handle, and he had taken Berserker. So I just That was I'm a big Trekkie.
That was my assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the Almost Kirk. My first name is James, so there's that, and then my SCA name is Tiberius. So
nice.
Yeah.
Almost.
it's a boom boom boom.
It writes
has a
itself.
nice mix. It really does.
Very
Right? Do I think Kirk is the best captain? I don't know. Cisco's up there at the top too, and there's a lot of other stuff too. So we can get that's a whole other discussion. So. But so that's where that came from there. I should probably switch everything to Ross Thompson or James or something. But so
Yeah, I like the story for Almost Kirk, so it was worth it for me,
Cool.
Not
Awesome. But guys, thanks for having me on. This has been super fun.
But to have you back on at another time.
I would love that.
Have a great night.
Yep.
You too, guys.
Have a good one, Ross. Thank you.
Later.
All right, Mike, I didn't.
No, that's all right. I'm glad you did that because otherwise I may have rambled on longer than I needed to. So just to kind of to wrap things up, so to speak, last few things. One, I want to give a big shout out to BC Terps. Thanks so much. That was a really unexpected, awesome surprise for my birthday. On my birthday for an Extra Life donation. That was pretty awesome. I know he donated. It's clearly it was your age signified
yes.
A little bit of something right there. So much appreciated.
Same here.
So what was mentioned earlier this evening, it sounds like I'm the only one that had any success at all on these new gen consoles.
Did you get a PS4 today?
No, but
a PS4 Pro?
I have nothing except for a tracking number for a PS5, which is coming tomorrow.
Okay, nice.
And I tried to cancel that, but Target said, it's too late. We're already working on it. And I was like, all right, what the hell?
You tried to cancel it because you would get it somewhere else, or you just...
No, because I was like, I don't need this right now. I'm going to wait until I can use Best Buy dollars whenever that is. But if it's on its way, I get a free copy of Bugsnax. I don't know. What else can I say to be like,
well, don't
here's
you get
the
it for free because you have PS...
Well, it's PS Plus, so you have to have a PS5.
No, you don't.
I
locked it into my library today.
No, you can get it, but you can't play it unless you have a PS5, right?
Well, yes.
Okay,
because they don't give you the PS4 version, right?
No, I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. Is
so you can go on the PlayStation Store and
you can lock it in, so you'll get it someday when you don't want to play it anymore. But I'm
hearing a lot of Pokemon Snap.
I'm gonna physically launch that game and then say I don't want to play this, and then that might be the last time I use a PS5.
Good thing you're buying one then.
Oh yeah, it's money spent. So, let's see. I guess the biggest thing. So burying the headline, but the biggest thing for me is God's honest truth. I was looking forward to the Polymega more than the Xbox Series anything or the PS5 because I was like, this is a novel console-ish thing, a device that comes with a disk drive. Yes, it's emulation and not FPGA, which was what they said it was going to be originally, but
we've moved on from that because
we've moved on. It's been years now,
right?
So whatever. But once they sent out actual physical playable beta units to people, I was like, all right, I'm convinced this is real. I will give you money. I will get one in, I think originally it was supposed to be July or something like that when I ordered. Now, granted, originally when they were looking for outside funding before they canceled their Indiegogo or Kickstarter or whatever it was, they were talking about an April 2018 release. Every release they've talked about has been pushed back, and they push it back like within a couple of days when they said it was supposed to come out. They don't talk at all on social media. We have gotten to the point where you cannot excuse this anymore as just they're not good at communicating. This is willful negligence. Whatever they're doing, I do not know if there's anything nefarious going on. I have no evidence about any of that, but I am keeping a very close eye on all of the channels that I have access to. Apparently, people who are in the beta test scenario have access to a very secret Discord channel. I have no access to that. Some of that information is being leaked out. The deal is those machines are not, they have not been manufactured yet. They have finally admitted to that today. Their last communication to the public was these units will ship November 15th or earlier. Right. Word for word, that is exactly what they told everybody who was giving them money. They will not ship this year at all. Not a single one. At best, if they keep their word now, they will ship in February of next year. I do not believe them. I'm telling you that right now. I believe this to be they're kicking the can down the road. They have no idea what's going on. I can't say they're trying to defraud anybody yet. They claim they will give you your money back if you contact them. There are so many reports from other people who have said, I have asked for my money. I have asked for clarification. I have said I need to change my shipping. All of it is fallen on deaf ears. Mm-hmm. Their communication is abysmal. And I still want their product if they can deliver. I don't feel good about any of this. And I really wish I had kind of waited it out. But the trigger that got me to get into it was we're cutting off our direct pre-orders now. And if you get it directly from us, it's a cheaper price than with our exclusive partner, Walmart.com. Now they're throwing Walmart under the bus, saying it's all Walmart's fault. They haven't given us the money they promised. We can't contact anybody. They haven't communicated anything to the general public in any sort of announcement form since July. The only thing they've said since then is retweets of people that they sent beta units out to, like Metal Jesus, or forgive me, I'm forgetting, but the guy
modern vintage
gamer got one.
Yes, they did too, but
Victor
the
Lucas
one
got one.
Victor Lucas, yeah. That's the other one. The last retweet that they even did at all, which has been a while, is that he's had it for a while, and here's his impressions of what we've done. They're abysmal on communication, and that's undeniable. But the reason for why is speculatory. My speculation is that they're trying to cover up something, and I don't know
it's not a good look.
Like whether this is ever going to work. They claim in today's announcement that they've spent $1 million of their own money this month alone toward a production of consoles that are going out. They said 5,000 units to the earliest pre-orders. I have no idea how many people have pre-ordered. That doesn't sound like enough to cover anything and everything. So, again, I wait. They have my money. We'll see what happens. Every time they announce a delay, they're like, but also we're going to do this. And the biggest thing that they're trying to promote now is their light gun that works with LCD TVs. If that comes out and it works really, really well, awesome. That's not why I'm buying this console. That's a little bit of gravy. I will probably buy one if I ever get one of these machines, and I think it's a really good machine. I feel like there's a lot of smoke, and I feel like I've seen my reflection in a mirror. So that's where that is. the final thing I'll mention real quick is I am sitting in a Secret Lab Titan chair, and I had to order one back in August, and it showed up November the 4th. And when I put it together, I thought, okay, this is something. They're not inexpensive chairs. They're kind of well known, I guess, at this point. When I initially sat in, I thought it was incredibly uncomfortable. Like I felt like I was sitting on a
You didn't
stack.
like how it grabbed your hips? Like,
Well, actually, the hip thing, yeah, that did get some. That took some getting used to, but there's very little cushion on the seat, or at least it felt like initially. I gotta say, once I wheeled it up to my computer, and I'm using it in a real world sense instead of just sitting it in the middle of my floor, a lot more comfortable than I gave it credit for originally. And the stupid pillow that I thought was an afterthought and kind of garbage, in real world, I'm sitting at a keyboard and a mouse, and I occasionally lean back on it. It's a lot better than it feels like at first glance. I will say that. Now that I've said all that, this is the stinkiest piece of furniture that I've ever put in my house in my entire life.
does it need to degas still or whatever? Or?
I feel like if it wasn't monsoon season the last few days, I would have left this outside for like a week. Like I soaked this thing in Febreze every day for the first 5 days that I had it, just to be able to stand the smell of it. And even today, I can still smell whatever weird chemicals are involved in this chair. But it's getting a little bit better, and I think it'll eventually fade and be tolerable, and so on and so forth. The amount of like adjustments you can make on it, I think are pretty darn good. If I had the ability to test drive this chair for like a week before buying it, I probably wouldn't have. But now that I have it, it's not that bad. It's better than I thought. I do not fully endorse the Secret Lab Titan for, at least for my body build. I don't know. If I could try all the sizes out, I don't know. Maybe the Omega would have been a little bit better for me, because their charting is about your total height, but my body build is a little bit strange, because even though I'm about 6 foot tall, all of my height is in my legs. So my torso is not especially tall, which means the seat back does not need to be especially tall for me. But with the pillow being adjustable, it kind of works. I just assume that the elastic in that strap for the pillow is going to be trash in about a year, because that's the way elastic works when you're stretching it beyond its limits.
That is how elastic works.
It doesn't seem like it's like specifically built for the shape of this chair. It's just like, yeah, whatever, elastic stretches and you can pull it as high or low as you need. Like, okay, no, that's not really how engineering works, but whatever. For the day of assembly, it works as well as one could hope for. So that's that's a gigantic list of crap that I wrote down.
All right.
So Tiny, what have you been up to lately?
We'll talk about a couple things real quick. One, this past weekend was actually National Game Day. So
That's a fact.
I slept 6 hours the whole weekend.
Did you participate, or did you just kind of?
I had friends do it. Like I was on a friend's channel for multiple times. They did a 50-hour stream.
Holy cow!
I mean, they broke it into shifts. Like people were on different parts.
But still, if it's continuous, that's a lot to be viewing.
8 p.m. Friday to 10 p.m. Sunday. So Yeah, that was a long one. And we were on front page of Switch multiple times. People were very concerned that the chat was not as fast as they felt it should be with the number of viewers. It's like, why do you care? I don't like. It's not like we trick Twitch into letting us on the front page. But anyway, so Extra Life raised something like $13 million at the end of game day.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, it was great. There was a slight networking issue at like 4 a.m. on Saturday morning, but that got resolved relatively quickly, and the website stayed up the rest of the day. So,
but no specific DDoS attacks like last year.
The answer that is given is that they saw a lot of traffic start coming to the site at 4 a.m. And that is what caused some of the APIs to stop being able to connect and whatnot. No one is saying it was a DDoS, just a lot of traffic. You will have to determine how you want to interpret that.
Okay.
So anyway, I think they just don't want to pull up the memories of last year.
But if and if they could get through it without shutting down, I mean that's
right. which is fine. And yeah, like that's what happened. So I mean, this will also be different. Like I doubt we'll see how the rest of the year goes, because like talking with my hospital rep, he's like, oh, we're so Philly was like 260 on Sunday. Last year we were at 213. I'm like, yeah, but that's because for most of game day you couldn't donate. So like the what we made up in gains after game day, I don't know if they're going to parallel again this year. So we'll see what happens. But like, hey, it's great news. Like I said, $13 million raised on game day. There's still 7 weeks left in the year. I mean, we might as well mention it now. GameEnthus will be doing our Extra Life days on 12/5 and 12/19. We'll do 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. streams.
All East perfect dark the whole time. Just perfect dark and perfect dark zero. Only games that you're allowed to play.
Aaron only signed up for 4 hours, so we don't have to worry about that idea.
Yeah, I don't own any perfect dark games.
I can resolve that. That's
no.
Yeah, I have one that's.
I'm pretty sure I have an extra copy of Rare Replay.
That's okay. You're right. Rare Replay. I do have the.
There you go. You got both perfect darks. Then you're good.
Fair enough.
You just don't have the Game Boy one. The Game Boy Color one.
I'm not playing whatever that game is.
So that's Extra Life stuff. Other stuff to talk about real quick. Today is the 19th anniversary for the release of Metal Gear Solid 2, the best game in the Metal Gear Solid series.
You don't really mean that. But
I 100% mean that. I will agree with arguments that Metal Gear Solid 5 is a better playing game. Well, Metal Gear Solid 5's story is definitely not better than Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, it starts off with story and then kind of has none. So
right, it just stops. So, but Metal Gear Solid 2, classic, still teaching us things. I hate to give Kojima credit. Kind of saw the meme thing coming.
If that game wasn't so long, I would probably play it again to try to figure out why you think that it's as good as. The game's
like 6 hours. You can do that game in 6 hours.
No,
I'm not playing Twilight Imperium. I mean, come on.
You could play that game in 6 hours. You get through the shell, and then once you're out with Raiden, there's just a direct.
Right.
One of the guys I know from Extra Life did a playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 2 over the weekend. I think it took him 8 hours.
How many pull-ups did he do to increase his strength?
I honestly wasn't there.
It's funny. I get to like the second boss in MGS2, and I'm just like,
Which one's the second boss?
Can you? I mean, they have distinct names.
Is it the
one after the guy on the roller skates?
Well, that's
Fat Man is number one.
Yeah.
So then,
I will say that I remember that one.
So you're talking about the girl with the railgun?
Yeah. Whatever.
Don't you fight like Olga? Like, don't you like shoot her in between crates or boxes or something like that?
That's the beginning of the game. That's 2 years before.
Yeah, that's not even a boss. That's
actually teaching you how to use the aiming system.
That's pre-game.
Which I already knew how to do. So
that's before Liquid steals the Metal Gear Ray out of the tanker.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Like that's what came with the demo. Like
right. That was
none of the Raiden times. So
Riding Times.
The Riding Times.
Is that your fanzine?
It
Riding Times
was a college.
tiny.
So again, the funny thing to think about just when this game came out in 2001 is it and Grand Theft Auto came out within like 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah, very close. It's incredible.
So I got both
close.
of these games the same weekend, and I let someone borrow GTA 3 while I played through Metal Gear Solid 2 in my dorm room.
And apparently you were done with it in 6 hours. That's what I was told like 2 minutes ago.
I could finish it in 6 hours now. Then I was not the seasoned gamer I am now. I was not used to the analog sticks. I had adopted.
You were confused by these two analog-y things.
Well, I mean, just think about it. Like, honestly, that would be a legitimate confusion because this would have been the first console I had that had dual analog stick on it. Because the Dreamcast didn't.
Probably.
My N64 didn't.
Yeah, if you bought them in
I didn't own a place
order, yeah.
I didn't own a PlayStation, so anyway.
Well, had you played GoldenEye with two controllers, you could use both analog.
I hate all of those dual because you can do that with like a bunch of different games. Yeah. And like
how many? I know Ape Escape required the DualShock and utilized it, but as far as first-person shooters on a PS1.
I think that Aliens game does, the one that like Bungie points to as being like, hey, this is the game we cribbed most of our controls from.
Okay, I've never played that.
It's the one based off the Winona Ryder Aliens movie, the bad one.
Oh, Resurrection?
Is that Resurrection? I forget. Yeah, it's the fourth Aliens
the basketball.
Movie.
That movie is terrible.
It's the fourth one, but the game is supposed to be like actually relatively good. And like I said, like the prequel to what would be Halo's controls are on there.
Hey, they claimed Alien vs. Predator on the Jaguar was pretty good too, but
I still think that game is pretty good. So anyway, so that's Metal Gear Solid 2 anniversary. That's Extra Life. We talked. Mike brought up next gen stuff. I have just a big old goose egg for all of my attempts to get next gen consoles.
Got a one,
including. I was giving a presentation when Best Buy decided to open at 9:20 this morning, even though for the Xbox they had opened at 1 a.m. or close to 1 a.m. So I was up till 4 last night, or this morning really, waiting for Best Buy to open.
It's pretty ridiculous. But I mean, what are you missing out on? You cannot play Demon Souls. Oh wait, you have a PS3. You can play Demon Souls.
Right. It's not a question of what am I missing out on. A question of I want this, Michael.
I get it. I mean, actually, that's the only reason.
And the PlayStation isn't actually the big deal. Like I would like to play Spider-Man, and I'd like to like some of the stuff they're talking about, the improvements people are seeing on the PlayStation 4 games. Those are all cool. The Xbox is the bigger hurt. Just my soul hurts because of it. Because I now have 2 different lines of credit. Open
and no Xbox.
The all access and no Xbox.
Now that is a screwing that they like. This is the big problem with the way that they rolled things out. That are like limited quantities, but unlimited tapping on your credit. What's your FICA score? I
tried to do the all access. And we talked about this before. We might have talked about it on the last show. I was not approved for the all access during the first pre-order session. And that's because I had frozen all of my credit reporting after
because you unfollowed Major Nelson, to tell the truth.
After the Equifax breach, I froze everything. Right. So when it told me I had 0 credit, I was like, oh, I know what the problem is. Not my credit score. So I unfroze one of them so I could do this. And I go through on GameStop and I go through on Target. And I'm thinking, because it all goes back to Citizen's system. So like you're not doing it in GameStop system, you're not doing it in Target. Right. So I'm like, okay, it'll reference the same line of credit. Nope. Open 2 different lines of credit. And both lines of credit currently say they have a $900 hold on them, which is roughly what the cost of all access will be with
everything,
with the tax and everything on top of it. And all that. So yeah.
Well, that right there is reason enough for me to say I'm glad I'm not going to try to do the all access route.
I mean, I guess I'm ready. If more Xboxes come available.
I mean, I guess.
And on the other hand, other than the slight hit my credit will take for a month or two for opening these credit lines, like I can't use this credit for anything else. It is specifically designated for Xbox All Access, which also confuses me. Why is it $2,500 then for the line of credit on each one?
Oh, can you like add games or accessories or something?
As far as I know, no. So I just, anyway, it's super weird. All this next gen, like this should not be this complicated. And I understand there are so many other issues in the world, and I agree, but this is just dumb.
Yeah, well, in the
how
world,
this process has gone.
No matter
they
what
tried
you're
to warn
looking
us.
at.
You're not getting one. That's what they basically were saying. We just weren't listening.
So,
You just got an email that said no.
so I mean, and then all the other stuff. Like I watched Sam's Club crash last night the moment they opened up theirs.
There ain't no next gen, and there never was.
My buddy was trying to get one from PC Richards because like their website was
Be like,
New York
oh,
and
I
New
remember
Jersey?
them from.
He's in Jersey. There's one in Philadelphia. I would have tried to get it if I didn't have, again, $400 in store credit from Best Buy. Anyway.
That's right. That's why that's my
right.
intended procedure for the Xbox.
So I mean, I'm still looking at it and keeping an eye and stuff. I'm like, man, this is the same frustration all the people for graphics cards went through. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. The last two things I'll talk about real quick. So I've been playing Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the original Xbox. I was doing it for Halloween.
Classic.
It is a better game than I think people give it credit for.
It's fine. I played through it. I remember it. It was fine.
Like, I think the second one isn't that great, as far as I remember. But
I don't remember there being a second one. But okay.
So the second one was multi-platform, as compared to the first one was only on Xbox.
That's what ruined it.
And well, it's also by a different company, and it's published by a different company.
That's what ruined it.
So
no matter what
the first one's
that's what ruined it.
The first one's by the Collective and published by both Fox and Electronic Arts. And then the second one is by Eurocom and published by Vivendi Games. So,
well, they ruin everything.
And also, everyone but Sarah Michelle Gellar prizes their roles.
I think she's too good.
I mean, I was trying to think she probably was in all those like I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that stuff at that point. Time. Yeah. So I've been playing that, and so I started rewatching the show. And I, as a 37-year-old dude, I identify so much more with the librarian now, Giles, than any of those kids on that TV show. But even with that, this is definitely a 90s show, and there are things you're like, what? Like, Buffy is dealing with dying. She in the first season, at the end, she dies for a moment and then comes back. And she's dealing with like the traumatic stress of that. And everyone's like, oh, she just has issues. And you're like, that is a terrible way to look at any of this. Especially for any of the adults in the room. Like, I'm fine if self-absorbed teenagers are going to have this discussion, but like, you're supposed to be an edge.
I mean, if somehow they know,
this was Giles. Giles said this. He's like, I believe you Americans would call them issues.
So that is implying that I have a clue who that character is.
Yeah, he's the librarian who's the watcher. He is her advisor to supernatural shit.
Oh, he's the Donald Sutherland.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, he is her. Yeah, he is her mentor and all this stuff. And he's just talking to the other teens in the group, and they're talking about Buffy, and he's like, "I believe you Americans would call them issues." And you're like, "Bro, you are A, supposed to be her advisor. B, you're supposed to be like an educator." I don't understand what's going on.
You remember in the Christy Swanson movie where Donald Sutherland just throws a knife right at her face?
Oh, they do that all the time too. Like there's
so
she catches a knife. Someone tried to throw one in one of the episodes I watched in season 2, and she just catches it, like throws it back at them, I believe.
Right. But with the implication being like, I just assume that you're going to survive, but if not, whatever.
So I don't think the movie gets into this as much. But in the show, she's a superhero. Like, as the Slayer, she has enhanced strength, she has enhanced reflexes. She's Spider-Man, but she just doesn't stick to walls.
Sure. I think the original movie kind of like hinted at like she's got abilities to protect herself.
Well, but like sometimes she just jumps 2 floors. Like Oh,
Okay,
she's on the
that's-
balcony
yeah,
now.
That's Spider-Man-y, sure.
Like I said, she's Spider-Man without sticking to walls. That's really her. She, like I said, hand strength, all that stuff. So anyway, I'm still watching the show. I'm still having fun. I'm playing the game. But yeah, it's definitely. I'm like, oh, this was definitely made in the '90s. And there's a whole lot of bands that they show on. I'm like, I have no idea who any of these people are.
And wasn't when the game came out, it was like 2001, 2, something like that.
We talked about this on stream, yeah.
But it took place years prior in the series, correct?
It's supposed to be in the 3rd season, so that would have been somewhere in the '90s, like in the late '90s. But this is a game for the original Xbox that, like, the instruction manual still only features the Duke, and it doesn't have any of that grid on the background that tells you, like, hey, how many players and the memory unit size, and does it support HDTV and all that stuff. Like, this is an original Xbox game.
The OG.
Because I feel like some of those super original Xbox games had that information.
I don't believe it was universal. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
so I'm holding.
That I believe.
I'm holding 3 Xbox games in my hands right now because I also bought Batman Begins.
So like, yeah, one of the earliest games that I have within reach is Morrowind, the original Morrowind, and that has none of that shit on it.
Right. All this has on the back of it says Player 1 in a box. Like, it's bad graphic design. Anyway, it's why
it literally says Player 1 in a box.
Right. So the last thing I wanted to mention real quick, Video Game History Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I went to their charity event on the 30th, well, virtually, which was a evening with I was about to say Mike Micah, but no, it's Ron. It's the guy who did Secret of Monkey Island. Ron Gilbert. Yeah.
Gilbert. Yeah.
So that was fun. Like it was a stream, and then there was a Q&A at the end, and they talked about content and how.
Oh, this is the fireside chat, right?
Yeah, this is the fireside chat with
the
Ron
thing
Gilbert.
that I thought was literally by a fire.
Right.
It could be. It doesn't have to be.
It could have been. So that ended up going real well. They showed off some content from Secret of Monkey Island, and they talked about some things, and then also what the History Foundation is doing to help preserve both source code and then the touchy-feely stuff of games. So like Frank Savaldi came, it's like, hey, I'm not so concerned about getting a complete collection for Nintendo. I know plenty of people that already have those. But like, I'm more interested in what were the press kits and what is the stuff that no one else is preserving that helps give you context around the games. So like, why? Oh God, he was talking. I was listening to. They just did an episode on Retronauts for the History Foundation as well, and they were talking about Earthbound, and like Earthbound got just totally shellacked by reviewers. Even though now it's become a cult.
At the time.
But not only did they not get it, it came out in '95, so you had the 3D revolution going on, and the PlayStation was here, and the N64 was coming out, and here was this game that barely looked like a Super Nintendo game coming out.
Like, it looked a little funky.
Without the context of, like, you can play it now and be like, oh, this game is great, but without the context of everyone was losing their mind because we had 3D polygons now.
Right.
You don't get why.
Yeah, there's a reason why there was a stack of Earthbound big box releases at Best Buy for $10, and I walked right past it.
So that's the kind of stuff, and I mean, I've heard people talk about that at Toys R Us's and all that stuff, but like, that's the kind of stuff they're trying to preserve and trying to be able to present, because that's the stuff that's going to help understand the context of the games and that kind of what's going on. So it's a cool thing. They just launched a new podcast, which, rival podcast, whatever. But Video Game History Hour.
Okay.
I know. I count everyone. Video Game History Hour. They launched with 3 episodes, which included one on we talked about this. Oh my God, I'm going to forget. The first Black female video game designer. The Icon.
You mentioned her.
The Icon. It was on the Icon.
Her games are a lot of. That's fine. I watched the video. I remember I put it into the show notes.
Oh, the G4 icons?
No. This
something
is
else.
a new, this guy was doing research for about 8 months, like trying to figure out who was the first black video game designer or female video game designer, and it turns out is this lady in France.
Let me see if I can find it.
And so they brought him on to talk about his mini documentary, and I was just listening to one where they brought Ben Hansen from Minimax on to talk about the Oregon Trail. And I'm going to leave you with this piece to finish this off.
It was Muriel Tramis.
That's it. That's that is the lady's name. But for the Oregon Trail, when do you think that game was first programmed?
82.
Nope.
Higher or lower?
Lower. Well, earlier, because higher and lower.
Well, yeah, right. That was what I meant.
81.
81? 80?
1971.
What?
71?
It was on a they programmed it first for the teletype.
So this didn't even display on a CRT of any kind.
Calling it a video game is real generous. It was just a electronic game.
It was a bunch of punch cards that displayed printed data.
I mean, they didn't talk about how the data was put into it. I don't necessarily think it was punch cards. But the teletype could read a program. Like there was a programming language underneath.
But the output was printing on.
Was printed, just printing out. So, for example, when you did the hunting game, it was just you started the hunting game and typed bang as fast as you can. If you were fast, you got more food. If you were slow, you got less food. If you misspelled bang, which is a 4-letter word, you got no food.
Wow.
So
that's
like this
game. This
predates Pac-Man. They talk about it, and there's some real fun stuff in there, and they talk about the history about Minnesota's. So it was published by MEC, which is the Minnesota Education Computing Consortium, which was technically a consolidation of Minnesota's education, like compute resources at that point. So it was a kind of a state organization. That then turned into a private organization, and then got sold off to Vivendi or whatever. So, like the people who made Oregon Trail have not made any significant money from creating.
That's believable.
I mean, it's a lot like a Tetris scenario where, like, it was made on state. So the cool thing about it being made, and I'll
state
stop
property.
after this, is it was 3 student teachers that made it. 2 of them were math student teachers, and one was a history one. The history guy was trying to make a board game with dice to teach about the Oregon Trail, and his 2 friends were like, "Oh no, we can do this on at that point a teletype, but like a computing device."
Right.
And we'll give ourselves, I think it was a 2-week deadline to figure this all out. So in 2 weeks, they make the original Oregon Trail. For that, once it starts getting popular, they go back and revise it. And part of how they revise it is they get a bunch of diaries from the Oregon Trail and start counting up, like, how many times did an axle break? How many times did someone die of dysentery? How many times blah? And, like, they just put those ratios into the game. So when events happened, it would pull from this table based on the number of the times it happened in these diaries they were looking at. So... yeah, you should go to the Video Game History Hour, History Foundation.
So it
was
a 10+ year beta test.
Kind of like, I mean, there's also stuff there's a lot of stuff they talk about how they changed when they started and they realized they were in a very ignorant state to put like the Indians attacked. They changed it to I think rioters for some reason, which I was a little confused by, instead of like raiders. But also, rioters only attack, or the likelihood of a rioter attack is only high in major population areas. So at the start of the trail and at the end of the trail. Like, it's very low during the middle because they wouldn't just be in the middle of nowhere.
It would be coyotes.
Right. So, or when you ford the river and, I don't know, everyone drowns. But anyway, so you should check out those podcasts. Keep an eye out for when they do more events like the Fireside Chat. I think like this I don't know, I like this video game history stuff. So
sometimes you forget that, Elite Dangerous was clearly inspired by the game Elite, the old PC game Elite, which is also ported to the NES. Sometimes you need to be reminded of those types of things.
Yeah.
Reminded of things that you've never heard of before. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I was trying to explain to, I think, my sister today about the difference between, like, well, Europe had all these microcomputers, and obviously she didn't care.
Which is evident when she turned around. I was like, yeah, my mom. Like,
so, I don't even remember what the context was, but I was talking about microcomputers to my sister when she was driving home.
oh, you're talking about the Commodore. You're talking about Lionel Richie, the Commodores, and then you went into the
Yes,
Commodore.
Well, yeah, right, yeah. If we get to definitely talking about the BBC, there was the BBC Micro, but also all the other things that you just said and connections
ZX
to
Spectrum.
Yeah,
ZX Spectrum. Oh, I did look this up. The cat box that I had previously mentioned, the Jaguar adapter, which apparently had nothing to do with network connectivity. It was a thing that allowed S-video, RGB, stereo, and a DSP throughput something or another, whatever. It was like, oh, yes, of course they made this because all of the people who worked on the Jaguar and this piece of device were former ZX Spectrum architecture people. I'm like, okay. So they made trash and then they made trash. Excellent.
Wow. Well, I think at the time the ZX Spectrum was pretty.
Hey, I'm sure it was
Yeah,
a game changer at the time. You look at it now and you go,
Well,
these colors suck, these
But,
games
like,
suck.
But, like, if you're going to look at that and call it trash, then, like, you have to call the BBC Micro trash. But
Probably. I've never even seen what a BBC Micro actually looks like.
But the BBC Micro was, like, what they gave out in schools and whatnot to try, like, all of these cheap, they hook up to your TV. Like, this drove a generation of, like, veteran programmers that, like, you would not have seen. We wouldn't have the game industry we have today without this stuff. And, like, without, like, hey, what is the cheapest computer we can mass build to give out to school kids in the UK?
It makes you think, like, what if the U.S. would have had more of those? That would have been pretty cool.
It's like a Raspberry Pi. There's all kinds of things you can do with a very cheap piece of hardware. But
yeah, but things have been democratized so much now. But
Right,
back,
like-
20, 30 years ago, not so much.
Sure. It was a novelty. A novelty in this, I don't mean in the sense of like a pejorative. I mean in the sense of this was actually new and people wanted to tinker with it.
Well, that, but it
No,
was
I think
also
you meant it as a pejorative, yeah.
it was also a plan to modernize your workforce, to get them young.
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
you
for
realize your
all
workforce-
kinds of reasons.
Yeah, we realize as a nation or whatever, and this was, I'm speaking for the UK here.
Just
as a
like you said
nation-
so many times, your parents said a computer is how you get a job.
Right. Yeah. Like I understand that I grew up in this household. That video games wasted time. Computers, how you get a job? Man, that really. I mean, yes, it worked, but also that logic really backfired on the 20 or 30 hours I spent trying to get next gen consoles this week.
Take that, mom and dad.
So, well, I've also been 14 days self quarantining because I drove my nephew who. His sister potentially had an exposure. So, like, they all tested negative. But anyway, there's no, like, it's cool. I can stay home for 2 weeks. So, but,
Either way, under normal expectations, you should be all right.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not worried about that. It was like, hey, I'll do this, but I'm not going to go to my parents' house. I didn't go to my parents' house for dinner this last weekend. That's all.
Right.
So, but I will next weekend. So, like, we got through.
You're like, yeah,
So
I've only breathed my own air for the last couple
Exactly.
of weeks.
Like, aside from seeing the delivery person, I haven't seen anyone since Halloween.
And you had to, hit him over the head with a shovel and bury him in the backyard to make sure they gave you no COVID.
That seems very serious. I will say
That's how that works, right?
I will say one last thing, and this is a Twitter thread that's going on right now. Our friend BC Terps posted, "Which way do you think you put a disc into the PS4 or PS5?"
You don't.
Well, he got one of the disc ones, so yes, you do. But is
still, you don't.
Is it towards the thin side of the machine or towards where the larger part of the machine?
The larger part of the machine.
No, because that would mean it's putting the disc upside down if the thing's horizontal.
So
Because the disk drive isn't on top of the PS5; it's on the bottom. And it's a laptop drive, so that's why it's so thin. It doesn't really matter. Like it's one of the little like.
Well, so what I gleaned from images from the Series X that went around, and I kept looking at them going, everybody's putting their console down on the wrong side of being horizontal, but apparently no, the disk drive is on the higher side if it's laying down on its side.
Yes,
that's true.
And on the PS5, it's on the lower side.
Yep.
So as long as you've laid your console down correctly, the silver side goes to the earth.
Right, but in the picture the PC put up, it is currently in a vertical. And apparently,
screw that! You're playing with fire if you're trying to set up a console that way.
Him and multiple people have put it in and wondered why the disc didn't work, and then realized they take it out and flip it.
You're lucky it spits it out without like claw marks all over it.
So anyway, I'm just looking at this
because Ben is a smart person. So
I agree.
That shouldn't happen.
I also wonder if there's
from a design standpoint.
But I also wonder, and I don't know this obviously because I don't have a PS5 right now. Like, is this the same idea as like the gas tank indicator on your car that tells you which side the
arrow that I didn't realize was there to like
so many exactly. Like, is there some little arrow or whatever on this that like points to the direction that you should put?
Actually, this feels super ironic, but I bought gas tonight. And I know which side of my car the gas tank is. That's not the point of this at all. But the credit card reader, it was like, we don't care. Put it in either way. There's a strip reader on either side. Put it left, right, whatever.
It's not reading the chip?
No. Not on a swipe. No.
Oh, every gas station I go to now, you don't have to swipe it because it just reads the chip.
What can I tell you? They're like there's a magnetic strip reader on either side, and I did it 3 times in a row. The side that made sense to me, and every time it was just like, I don't know, error. Try again or whatever. I swapped it around. It worked the first time on the other side.
Hey, that just means you and a lot of other people have tried that way, and they've worn it down.
It's worn out, yeah.
The other way is just prestige.
No, I'm sorry. I think we still need to discuss the fact that it's not. I mean, your card has a chip in it, right?
Of course, the card has a chip in it. What do I care if they want to read the magnetic strip or the chip? Either way, if there's fraudulent-looking crap on my statement, I will call up my card company and say, throw it all in the trash.
What backwoods gas station was Mike going to? Okay,
kidding me? All my gas stations are in the backwoods.
I'm aware.
Literally, the gas station I filled up tonight.
I'm impressed they had a credit card reader.
Entrances to the gas station is shared as a driveway to someone's house.
What?
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah. So anyway.
All right. So there we have it.
Also, they don't read chips.
I'm impressed that it read credit cards. So
gas pumps out of the nozzle into the car.
Food goes here. All right. Let's just run through the games we played, and then we'll get up out of here. So, Mike, how about you?
The only game I played at all is Mafia Definitive Edition, and I'm still really enjoying it. And I think I've looked it up, and I've got like 2 or 3 missions left to go. Looking forward to seeing how it ends, but so far, I'm enjoying that game a lot, and that's exactly what I want out of an old game that feels like there are some modern amenities. Not the entire game. I can still see some almost 20-ish year old jank. That's fine.
You gotta have jank. There has to be.
But
some jank.
If it looks good, it sounds good. I can make modern adjustments to resolution and game controllers and stuff. That's fine. If the underlying engine has some weird stuff where I have to hit a specific button X number of times in a fight, or whatever it is. Like, just the fact that it's running on an old engine. I don't care. That's fine. I have long wanted to play through this game anyway, and this is a much more enjoyable experience than anything I would have had if I just fired up an original Xbox and stuck my Mafia disc in that console.
Well, I mean, then you'll be very happy to hear about the Blood Rain 1 and 2 remasters that are coming out. So,
in theory, except for I don't care about those games at all.
so,
Like, the only Blood Rain game that I cared about even a little bit was that
The 2D
anime
one?
style
the
looking
two,
one
yeah.
that was made by like Arc System Works or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember what, but it was like a 360 Xbox Live Arcade game or something.
Yep.
And I bought it and then never played it.
That sounds like a plan.
And I have no idea if that's backwards compatible at all.
Probably not, but maybe it
There
will
you
be
go.
after this. So,
Maybe
But-
they'll go back and add some games. Maybe they won't. Either way, I still own a 360, so I could theoretically play it. And still, I won't. But
Aaron,
that's what I played. Yep.
I was going to say, Aaron, what have you been playing?
Well, first, I want to thank Mike for his generous extra life donation and thank him for gifting me with his book for my birthday,
Nice.
which is Not All Fairy Tales of Happy Endings by Ken Williams, The Rise and Fall
Oh,
of
nice.
Sierra Online, as told by the Ultimate Insider. Thank you very much, Mike.
Oh, you're welcome. I saw that like had come out, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know this was coming out. Sounds great. And there's some other person that I know that enjoys old school Sierra games, and his birthday was right around about the time that I ordered it.
Now, this is good. I mean, and coming from the person who like ran the company, this should be very interesting too.
I mean, just looking at the timeline, I already saw things. I was like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. This could be interesting.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In terms of games I've been playing, I'll just go through the analog stuff. Playing a game called Cloud City. It's apparently the premise of this game is the city council is hiring a bunch of architects to design cities that, buildings that go up to the clouds and then have tubes at the top of the clouds for people to walk through. So you're putting tiles down.
Oops.
You're putting tiles down and putting on these little cardboard pieces that represent the tubes. And they have the lengths of them they go from like 1 point to 8 points. So you're trying to situate them so you score the most points. It's pretty fun.
Gotcha.
I don't know, it plays like 20, 25 minutes. I won, so I was pleased.
All right, good deal.
Play some more of the Deadlies, which is a game where you're playing cards that have the cutified versions or whatever of the 7 deadly sins, and your object is to get rid of your hand, to get rid of your complete hand 3 times. So you have to start off with 6 cards. If you get rid of all 6 cards, then you go up to 4 as a starting hand. And then after that, you get rid of those, and you have a starting hand of 2. But you can get more. I mean, it's, every card does something different. It's pretty neat. We like it. Like it a lot. My birthday, I got them to play Cartographers. Well, my wife and the oldest had played it. The other 2 had not played it, so really enjoy Cartographers. You remember Cartographers, right, Tiny?
Yes.
I can see the smile on your face.
Yes. I mean, we played it for our 10-hour board game thing.
Yes, we did. So, I like that game a lot, and I think there's like a Kickstarter. I don't know. They have more content for it, and it's a full. I don't think it's just an add-on. I think it's like a full-blown additional game in that universe. So, really
Is it
like
the
that.
silent cartographer?
It is not.
I
I see what you did there. Great level.
The very first piece of Halo content that I ever looked at, because it was a demo.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's see. Illusion. Did you ever play Illusion before, where you're trying to guess the percentage of colors in like very abstract cards? Like you're putting cards down in order of the
We
percentage.
talked about it before, but no.
Of the color in it, like blue, yellow, red. We played a bunch of that. That's fun. Playing a bunch of Octo dice solo.
It's a roll and write. The Octo thing, you can roll like an octopus on one side of the die, and it's pretty neat. It plays in like 10-15 minutes. It's just something I just like to play. Sometimes I'm just sitting in bed, I'll just pull up a little tray and just play a little bit of it, just to, just something for my brain. I don't know. Everything right?
It's just like this mental image. You're like, I was really tired, but somehow I'm still awake. So I'm gonna pull out this tray and start rolling dice, hoping to fall asleep.
Well, I don't hope to fall asleep. I don't know. It's quick, and I know how to play. I don't know. It's just, it's just one of those things. I don't know. Picked up Abandon All Artichokes, which is really fun. So this game, everybody starts off with 10 artichokes. Your hand is just 10 artichokes. You draw 5. It's not a deck builder. It's like an undeck builder. So you have 10 artichoke cards, and there's other vegetables that have different abilities that let you get rid of artichokes. The whole point of the game, you win because you basically draw 10 cards from your deck. You draw 5 cards at a time, excuse me. You win when you can draw 5 cards and none of them are artichokes. So your goal is to just get rid of as many artichokes as possible. I don't know. It's fun. It's the kind of game, it's published by, Emma Larkins is the designer. She was a video game designer, and then she started making analog games, and it's a hit. It's a really fun game. I like it. It's fun. A game called The Duffers came in, which is a golf themed game. Wonderful.
I was going to say that.
It's fun. The solo, I thought the solo mode would be more like the multiplayer. It's not. It's more like a solitaire kind of thing. I've yet to play multiplayer, but hopefully I can do that this weekend or the next. It's like a deck builder. So you're trying to, cards either have like a credit value, so you can buy like equipment from the pro shop, or certain cards have like a yardage value that you can use to, you can just use them combined to complete a hole. Like say a hole is like 425 yards. If you have enough cards, you can like dump them and then finish that hole. So
Gotcha.
And then obviously you're trying to have the lowest score at the end of the game, like actual golf. Speaking of golf, did you all see that clip where the guy, was it John Daly?
The practice shot across the water.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy. Did you go and look at how that hole is set up?
No.
Like that hole is set up to, I assume, more to like shoot over the water than to skid across it.
That was my assumption as well.
The green is just like there's a small strip of green, then there's the pond, and then there's or the fairway, and then you just hit the green. Mm-hmm. Like it's amazing he did a hole in one, and that was his second day in a row he did a hole in one. But like why would you build a hole that I don't understand. I had a lot of questions about that.
Okay, I'm glad you said like practice, because I showed the wife and she was like, "Well, why did he do that?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe he was down by a lot. It was like, screw it. I don't know."
Yeah, it was in a practice round.
Okay.
Because I think the Masters is this weekend. So.
Okay.
Why do I know about golf? Anyway.
Because you do. Mike, this is a game that I think you would like too. This game called Ohanami, where the premise is you're trying to build like a beautiful Japanese garden. Basically you have cards that are either blue, green, gray, or pink. And essentially you can have 3 columns of cards, and you can only put cards that are either lower than the lowest one already there, or higher than the highest one, so you can't go in between. Either add on to have a number that's higher, or add on a number that's lower than the lowest number, but nothing in between at all. And the first round, blues are scored for 3. Every blue card you have in the first round is scored for 3 points. Second round, every blue and green card are scored. Blue is still 3, green is 4. And third round, you score blue for the same value, green for the same value, gray is 7, and then pink is sort of like, there's a chart on like the box, and pink just kind of goes up. Like 1 is worth 1, 2 is worth 2. But then if you have like 15 pink cards, you have 120 points. It's like mechanically it's very simple, but it's so good. Like it's one of those games you just want to play it again. It's really fun. So, Mike, you might like that game. It reminded me of you. Your silence is golden. And he also stepped away. I'm looking at the chat. He said, "Be right back." So this just went over like, yeah.
Yep.
That's a complete bust right there. All right, moving on.
I put up a preview for a game called the Transcontinental, which is about the Prime Minister of Canada when Canada was only 4 years old, I guess, like 1781 or 61, building a train to transport people and goods and things from the eastern provinces to, I guess, Canada had just claimed or acquired British Columbia. So to connect them. It's fun. It's a worker placement game, kind of a point salad-y kind of thing where you can score points in like a ton of different ways. It funded like just like that. So I don't know. I looked up at the other people who also did previews for it. These are like people who, and I'm thinking like, how did I even get this game to preview? Because you had like some of like the biggest people like, how? Okay, cool. That's flattering. Like the fact that I'm scrolling like, wow, Rahdo's on there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Rahdo.
There was no L. I said Rahdo, but okay.
Oh, okay. That one too.
Yeah, that guy. So just some stuff that came in for previews. Creature Comforts from Kitchen Table Board Games, KTBG, that came in today. That's a dice placement game. Cute little creatures, and I don't know. I played it on TTS maybe like a month or so ago. It's so good. I mean, I like dice rolling games, but I like dice placement games, worker placement games. So I'm looking forward to playing that one hopefully this weekend. Okay. And then the last one is Not Dice, which is everything has
ironically has a lot of dice.
It does, but it's a Celtic. I mean, the game is sort of based in like, I guess I don't know if it's Celtic culture, artistry, but basically it's like dice. You're rolling them. You're trying to complete like a Celtic knot, but like
gotcha.
But not have any open ends. But there's like you can take those 18 dice, and it's like 4 or 5 different variations of the game that can be played with those dice, either solo or with others. So it seems pretty neat.
Gotcha.
And in terms of digital stuff, play more Pumpkin Jack. One thing I did not mention before was that game was made by one person, which is kind of crazy. The checkpointing kind of fell apart for me. I don't know if it was, I'm having issues with my Xbox saying that it can't sync up my saves. So I'm not sure if it's an issue with my Xbox. I don't know. It seems like a checkpointing thing would not be a save issue, but
gotcha.
I don't know. But it's impressive. Like it's a good 3D platformer. It's literally it clearly it's an homage to Medieval. It's a fun game. Still playing a lot of Crash 4. Still loving that game. Finally beat Resident Evil 7 with Cheat Engine, but that's not the point. I don't know how I feel about the game. You beat that game, right?
Resident Evil 7, yeah.
I like it.
I liked it a lot. Like I played through it multiple times a lot.
Wow, you really liked it. But yet you haven't beaten 4. But anyway,
I think 4 feels a little overrated. So.
Yeah, only people who've played it can say that. You haven't played it.
I mean,
you haven't earned the right.
I have gotten to the stupid mech, little Napoleon guy mech part. So like I've gotten decently into 4.
That's Ramon Salazar, but okay.
I don't need to know his name because it didn't seem that impressive.
Well, the big baddie is Sadler. That little guy is Ramon Salazar, and then the guy Chief Mendez is the guy that you fight in that barn.
That his bottom half falls off.
Yeah, when people transform on all these games, I think from Resident Evil, 4 on, like you can't. Whatever your goal was of injecting yourself or having Las Plagas or the mold, once you're like a 20-foot tall creature, you really don't have any options anymore. You're just hanging off this roof, screaming. What do you do? Like
I mean, apparently you sit in the bayou and eat disgusting food.
Yeah. So you should play Not a Hero? Because it's free. So that Not a Hero is just Chris Redfield trying to kill, going after Lucas.
I do remember that's. I think I actually own the DLC.
I mean, it's free, so you should grab. You should play through it just because Lucas deserved to be. He's a pretty terrible character.
But then, like, the question is, so this means that the next Resident Evil 8 Village or whatever, like, Chris is in that trailer.
He is.
So, like,
yeah.
So like, what's going on?
I don't know what's going on in that game. I'm interested because I've just been on a Resident Evil binge. I don't know. I play those games to relax, but then I play them with the cheat engine so I can relax. I'm not worried about ammo. I just want to play the game, just experience it the way the developers did not intend me to do.
So I meant to ask you. So for all the analog games you talked about, did you just like randomly change the dice to whatever you wanted it to be? Just like
No,
not to stress about it or whatever. Just okay, cool. Just checking.
nope. I see what you're doing. It's very different. It's apples and oranges, grapes and
Oh,
sodas.
it's it now.
It's yeah. So I like 7. It's cool. It just when I got to the end, it just felt like I'm fighting a big blob thing. It just felt like
I like the house part of 7. Like
that's the best.
Once you get out of the house, like
it makes a lot less sense.
It's less interesting, and also again, it's kind of like The Last of Us 2, where you're like, man, this game should have ended. Like,
but it's not even that long. Like getting out of the house doesn't really take all that long.
Well, getting off the manor, let's say, because like you go to Insect Mom's like side house or whatever, and
let's not even talk about how like her, in between her legs was like a wasp's nest.
A wasp nest? Yeah.
There's a lot of imagery. It's just like...
You didn't play Resident Evil 7.
No, I didn't play that.
What's even more amazing is that they make those characters like you empathize, or at least you sympathize with them.
Well, I mean,
because of what happened to them.
Right. There's a lot of... Actually, weirdly, it's a parallel somewhat to what happens in the Fear games. Where I don't think everyone...
There's maybe too many parallels, to be fair.
Yeah, where everyone... I don't think everyone was consenting for a lot of this game. Like, they kind of got mutated and
their minds just kind of went to crap.
Right, like, I don't think you could blame... At least, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's
stuff
funny.
Happens.
Like you did all the videotape stuff, right? Like the happy birthday stuff. So you knew when you got there as Ethan, who's like the most boring character ever. Like I didn't like them. The character you are.
He's the silent protagonist, really. Like, I know he talks.
Yeah, I just felt like in the other games, first of all, you saw who your character was. You had some kind of attachment. I didn't care what happened to Ethan at all.
Ethan also recovers from getting his hand chopped off.
They don't explain. So is he infected?
Yes, I believe that's what but like they staple the hand back on and it just starts working again. Like,
no, okay, you realize like after you're walking around when you get out of the chair when they're trying to feed you, they're force feeding you. If you run into Jack, like if he chases you and he catches you, he cuts your foot off. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
you pick up.
I haven't played.
You pick up your leg and just pour the magical healing
magical potion.
It just attaches.
It's pretty amazing. And then when your girlfriend stabs you with shears, was it? Like she has...
So if you're if he's infected as well,
it has to be a timeline thing. I would assume it's the time, because like you're literally driving down there to go rescue your girlfriend who
disappeared 3 years prior,
and also just left you, like just
took a job. Was like, I'm out.
Right. And then anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack there.
That's
anyway, Resident Evil 7 was a better game, and I want to say it's on Game Pass now.
Yeah, I actually in order to use the cheat engine, I just grabbed it off of the Microsoft store because it's Play Anywhere Game Pass or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I mean, hey, if
I don't know. It's a fun game. I did enjoy it, but the part in the house is the best part. Once you get out of there, it's not that it's bad. It's just it's not as interesting.
Yeah, but it's just such consolidated content right there. Like,
it's tighter. Like
right, yeah. You have all this stuff.
Yeah, you're picking up crap, but sorry, go ahead.
Did you watch Stop Skeletons from Fighting, the Resident Evil controller episode yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you notice? Like, I don't know if this reference is real or not, or it just happens to be the colors they picked. But that the chainsaw
colors.
Yeah, matches the chainsaw from Resident Evil 4, matches the chainsaw colors from Resident Evil 4.
And matches the chainsaw color from the first Chainsaw Massacre, because it was yellow.
Right, yeah, so the GameCube controller, GameCube chainsaw controller is red, and then the PlayStation one is yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a fight in the game where you fight someone, and both you and he have chainsaws, and your respective chainsaws match those colors, which also match the chain-wielding chainsaws from Resident Evil 4, which, to Aaron's point, the red one matches back to Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, I don't remember the color of Dr. Salvador's chainsaws.
I mean, he shows it in the video, so that's why I like. But anyway.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I finished that up, and then I started playing the Resident Evil HD remaster. And that's a good game. It's fun. I just don't remember it being that much crap to do. Like, I feel like there's just too many little knickknacks. Like, I know there's the shield key, and I've beaten, the original Resident Evil. I remember that stuff is there. It is like HD. I don't remember this one having that much crap.
Oh, I mean,
it's too much.
You played the Resident Evil 2 recently, like that. There was a ton of garbage you pick up for, keys and like how to open the statue that gets you to the basement of our building.
Now you talking like the remake of 2 or like the OG 2?
I mean, you do it in both, but even in the remake is what I'm thinking of right now because that's what I played most recently. To open that statue or whatnot, you have to find the 3 crests, and to find the 3 crests, you need to go. One of them, you have to go to the clock tower, but you can't get up the clock tower to get the wrench, to get the blah, to blah blah.
You know the differences between 2 and the HD remake?
What's that?
There's so many. I can't remember where stuff is. There's like 1 billion rooms in that mansion. And it's just like, there's like 4 things in each room. And it's just like.
Who are you playing as, by the way?
Jill.
I mean, Jill has the bigger inventory.
And that's the thing I'm thinking, like, if I was Chris, how would I ever. You have like 4 slots as Chris. Just give up. Like, open the front door, let the dogs gnaw your face off. Because you're not getting through this house.
But you do have a lighter.
That changes everything. It's funny that
you use like one time.
Aaron, we talked about this yesterday. Aaron's apparently not been burning the Crimson Heads or the zombies before they turn into Crimson Heads.
My health is always at 100.
Again,
and I don't have to reload.
Cheating. So
I'm telling you, what you start if you just want to play games and experience them, you don't want. I'm telling you, Cheat Engine is so dope.
YouTube is the best version of a game possible.
Exactly.
It's like one step up. It's like you're actually playing it.
I mean, I'm not even kidding. I mean, there are so many games I would rather watch somebody play very well at than me actually try to play.
Understood.
Especially old games. I watched a YouTube video the other day of Parsec for the TI 99 4A, and I felt the feels from when I was a kid of how difficult that game is, but I didn't actually have to be the one dying. And
Gotcha.
It reminded me that game is technically impressive, but just brutal.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube called Carcinogen, and he has a ton of like.
Oh, he does the Resident Evil speed run. I follow him.
This is the thing. Some of them are speed runs. Some of them are just like he'd just be going through it like a no damage run of like Resident Evil.
Yeah, they're
that's
themed
insane.
Runs or whatever.
He has I think he has a no damage knife only RE3 run.
I've read GameFAQ like descriptions of people playing Resident Evil games with that. I don't get it. I don't even get the appeal with something like that.
He said, well, when I'm fighting Nemesis here, it's going to take 56 stab. I'm like, wow, dude.
I mean,
did I watch the video? Of course I did.
Once you get that familiar with the game, like, yeah, you're making your own challenges at that point.
But no damage.
So,
that's nuts.
Like, yeah.
Like he did a Dead Rising with like 100%. He rescued everybody. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Those people don't listen to Dead Rising.
We could play Pokemon Snap.
Oh, especially the first one where you had to like hold their hand until you like shoved their face into the escape pod.
That's the one he's talking about. Yeah, it's
bad stuff.
At least Resident Evil, not Resident Evil, Dead Rising 2, you could just like escort them to the ladder and then they would just take care of themselves.
Yep.
Yeah, not this time. All right, so I'll be quick. So play a little more Wingspan on Steam. I'm still going through Mario 64. I'm at the clock level now, so I'm getting towards the end. I'm getting every star. I was getting all of them, but then the 100 coin one, I was like, eh. And then if the red coin one annoys me, I just
I don't care. So I'm getting every other star, except for those. So I'm finishing that up. I had already started Sunshine, but I might just go right to Galaxy. I'm sort of saving Galaxy as my treat. I mean, I'm enjoying 64, but
until that patch comes in, until you can like correct the controls to.
I thought that came out, didn't it?
Oh, did it?
I think it did.
How did they change it?
I haven't put that cartridge back in.
They added you could invert the controls or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because like no matter what, I felt like in the original version of Sunshine, it was broken for everybody. It was like, do you want inverted up and down?
No.
Oh, but no. But then inverted left and right comes with that. Like, no, nobody wants inverted left and right and up and down.
No. You shouldn't.
The update will be out the 16th.
So there you go.
Okay.
Either way, I don't know.
I went
it's
back
hard
to
for me
this,
to be interested.
This game on the Switch called Treasure Stack. It's like a match 3 kind of thing to kind of see if they updated it. No, it's still not good.
Gotcha.
And I wanted like that. It looks so much fun. Like these treasure chests come down and then you stack them. And then if you get one with the key on the icon, as long as it's touching like a group of them, they all open up and it clears the level. It's just something's missing. And there was an update. I'm thinking, the update maybe they added that secret sauce. No secret sauce.
That sounds like Montezuma Blitz on the Vita.
How does that game play?
It was like a match 3-ish thing. You get 1 minute to play every time. Break a bunch of gems. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm good. And then I played a bunch of Shards of Infinity. So that's it for me.
Gotcha. We'll go over game day stuff real quick. So I did actually play some games during this game day. I played a bunch of Among Us, which is just a fun game. Like, I didn't know most of the people we were playing against. Still had a lot of fun.
Vote against all unknowns.
Well, it was more like I didn't take our friend BC's approach, where it's I don't skip a vote. I also got to play on other maps, which we've traditionally only stuck to that spaceship one so far.
True.
So it's a cool little change. There's stuff that I've now learned that, like, if you're the imposter, the list of tasks that are in the top left corner are the most common tasks on the board, so that you can say, if someone's like, well, what were you doing? You just can read the common tasks, so that you can have an excuse, like, oh, I was doing this. Because, for example, like one of the ones we were playing on doesn't have the card swipe, and the person said they were doing the card swipe, and they're like, you're the imposter. Like, you were wrong. So, that's a cool little piece.
But you could just say, I'm the killer. Just vote for me. I don't care.
Well, at that point, but there are ways to recover. Like, you don't say card swipe. You don't ever commit. Like, you don't commit that far. Like, I was dealing with the card, and let them fill in the rest, because there is like you read the code off a card and what. Anyway, there's stuff. We'll see. We'll be playing some of it probably. I played some COD, again, not gun games, so I was new to whatever mode we were playing.
Normal?
Yes. Well,
we played campaign. There's some weird mode.
We played 3 versus 3 or what. Anyway, we were, again, this is when we were on the front page.
Gunfight.
We're gonna play badly.
Gunfight match.
This is gonna be bad. Just know this now. It's gonna be bad.
Gunfight's cool. I mean, it's similar to gun game in that they decide what guns you're doing.
I mean, hey, we won several matches. We won rounds and then matches between me and Angel and whoever our random third was that got matched with us. So,
right.
And we played some Mario Kart 8, so that was cool. Everything else I've been playing, like I said, I was playing through the Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. It's a third-person action game that came out on the original Xbox with most of the original cast. It's one of those games where people are like, it's a better licensed game than it deserves to be. And that's true. So you'll see me probably finish that on Twitch, hopefully this week. And then I also picked up, and it finally arrived, Batman Begins, which is...
I have it on PS2 somewhere.
Well, Rocksteady says this is the game that inspired a lot of the things that we consider revolutionary in the Arkham series.
I'll be the judge of that.
There are a lot of pieces to it that I'm like, okay. But there's also, so this is released by EA. And for some reason in my head, I seem to remember you get to play as the Tumbler. Like you get to be Batman Begins' car. I want to say they used the Burnout engine to do that. So I'm looking forward to playing that. I want to say that's what they used. I don't remember why I'm saying that, but so I'm looking to get through that. But other than that, those are. I mean, I'm still playing through Chrono Trigger. Chrono's dead now, and I haven't decided if I'm going to go save him.
Is that an option? Can you be that frog guy the rest of the game?
Oh yeah, you can finish that game without Chrono being resurrected.
Either way.
And then I was also listening to Retronauts, another podcast, and they did a Lunar episode, and so I know
nothing about Lunar other than
I broke out the PSP version I had, and then I was like, should I just buy it on Vita for $15?
I did that this week. I literally bought the Silver Star Harmony on my Vita because Greg Stewart was talking about it, and I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not?
So, I'm looking at that, like, should I do this? And then I'm like, oh, I'll just go to the website and do it. And then I remembered, damn it, it's after the 31st. You can no longer buy Vita games on the PlayStation Store website.
Why,
you have to go
I don't
through.
understand, like, why are they dumping all that stuff? I don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically, it's still available on the storefronts on the devices. Right. But since I don't think the PS3 or the Vita support dual factor, you have to do the weird concatenated email or password. And I'm like, this is too much of. So I've just started playing it on my PSP. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, I'm playing through that because I listened to a podcast that talked about it.
That was one where I think when it came out, it was only available physically, and they did not release a digital version until sometime after the fact.
I would imagine. I mean, a lot of Japanese RPG companies were doing that. So yeah. So that's, I mean, those are, let's say, the highlights. Other than that, it was a lot of like stopping by people's streams to see how they're doing, and
I tried to peek into
talk about, hey, this is how much we've raised. Keep it up. You're doing great. So and drop like $5 donations a lot of places. So a lot of people playing. Some people gave me some great ideas though. Like I know Mike just mentioned Parsec is in the game. But Parsec is in the like virtualization software so that you can play. Everyone logs into the virtual machine and you play essentially same screen games via a virtual machine. One of my friends did that and it seemed to work real well.
I use Parsec.
I don't know.
I use Parsec to edit, on my desktop when I'm not in the room on my laptop. So.
Yeah, so we might have to look at that. But... We might have to look at that as maybe an option, depending on what people want to play.
Yeah, when you want to test stuff out, let me know.
So.
I'll send you an invoice.
Okay. So I mean, those are the highlights. There was one piece of news I was going to mention, and I've already forgotten it. So
was it about the Metroid Samus Returns being leaked by accident, supposedly?
No, what is that? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Apparently, something came off of Nintendo that showed like an image or something from, I guess, the Switch version of the last Metroid. The 3DS one.
The 3DS version being up-res kind of deal? Is that what we're talking about? Okay. That's cool. Hey. Yeah. I think, actually, I do remember what I was going to talk about. Sega is at least re-releasing Streets of Kamurocho, which is the Streets of Rage Yakuza game they did for their anniversary. Yeah, it's the 13th through the 16th.
Awesome. That's the only one I missed when they launched. They put all that stuff out there.
Well, so I wonder if they're going to do the rest because Sega has committed to raising money for their local Children's Miracle Network Children's Hospital of Orange County, I want to say. So they're doing a thing this weekend where they're showing off Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 and a bunch of their old games. And they're also at least re-releasing this Streets of Rage inspired Yakuza game. I'm hoping they'll do the other ones. I don't think I got one of them. I forgot which one I didn't get. So we'll see. I'll keep an eye on Steam. So, but yeah. So if I don't know, get Streets of Kamurocho. Oh, also Spider-Man one more thing. Spider-Man PS4, you can now transition your save to the PS5 version, and the new suits in PS5 are coming to PS4.
Okay.
I want to say after a Thanksgiving update. So yeah. So I mean, again, I don't know why I need a PS5 since that's really the only game I want to play.
It's funny. I'm more excited about the Astrobot thing than anything else.
Yeah, the tech demo. That's what I'm interested in.
I
Exactly.
see Aaron's mouth moving, but I can't hear him.
You can't hear. Okay.
Did I lose or did
Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear everybody.
All right. That's weird.
As long as Mike can hear you, I just can't hear you.
That's all that matters.
All right. Well, we ready to get out of here?
Sue everybody.
For punitive damages you're giving me. All right, Mike. Shout outs, plugs. You know what to do.
Of course, I encourage anyone who's eligible to donate blood and anyone who has pets to have them spayed or neutered. you're just mouthing along because I've said it the same way like 80% of the time over the last decade.
We've been doing this for a long time.
But it still remains something that interests me. So yeah, if any of that applies to anybody listening, then I encourage. I don't implore. I don't demand. I'm not coming to your house. I'm not going to murder your family if you don't do what I'm asking for. I'm just saying, if you can.
It just got progressively worse. It was.
I was going to say, like,
what?
I got these headphones working again to hear, I'm not going to come murder you at your house.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't say I am. I said I'm not going to.
Here's the weird thing. It seems like that indicates that option was on the table.
Just in case anybody was worried that I was that adamant about what I'm talking about.
Like it seems like that option was on the table, and then you.
We talked about murder and killing you.
I was putting it on the table. I'm
Gotcha.
just stressing.
What is it?
Have your dog spayed or neutered? It's like, is this where we're going? Or
yes, just name a god. Just spay and neuter, give blood, or don't, and don't tell me you're not gonna. If you send me a direct message that says "screw off," I'm not doing anything you want, then you're on my hit list.
Okay, again, indicating there's a hit list.
To be forewarned.
So
you'll be right next to that guy who wanted to play with the Extra Life Super Nintendo controllers, but when I said, "Hey, do you want to give money to sick kids?" he was like, "What are you talking about? I'm gonna go."
People get real awkward sometimes.
I was gonna say I've had a lot of those talks.
Yeah, those are my least favorite.
Or people just like, could you just
world.
not talk to me? It's like, okay.
No one cares about what you're doing. They just want to play ARMS. I had a kid say that to me. I was like, okay.
Why don't you put the controller on and back up?
You're like, oh, you know what would look even better than that controller plugged into the fake N64 would be if I wrapped it around your neck and squeezed until all the money fell out of your wallet.
I'm not threatening someone attending the show.
Yeah, no, you should. You should say, you know what? What's more important than anything you've ever done in your life is helping some sick kids.
I agree. I agree with that. I'm not going to threaten the life of someone who paid.
That's why you don't let me in charge of anything on the physical front anymore.
Gotcha. Hey, yeah, that was the reason. Anyway, hey, it's all good. Again, just everything you said kind of just makes me worried about ever inviting you back to my house. So.
Well, but see, you and we're on the same page as far as the generosity levels.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Aaron, have you already? I couldn't hear you for a minute, so.
I was going to say
thank
you to Ross for hanging out with us, to have him back on. Thank you for the folks who popped in the chat or what have you, listeners. And if you want to reach us, you can always send us a voicemail by calling at 202-573-7686 or leaving us an email at podcast@GameEnthus.com. That's it.
Good.
I'm done. I'm shutting it all down. Shut it down.
We mentioned this earlier, but I'll finish up with this. Extra Life has finalized when we're going to do our game day or game days. It will be December 5th and 19th. We'll start at 10 a.m. Eastern time and go to 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern time. There will be a variety of people playing. We'll have team or group games, and then people can choose whatever games they'd like to play. Aaron has decided he'd like 4 hours to do whatever he likes.
Who's this Aaron you keep talking about?
More than happy to let him do that. So,
mayor of who?
So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure we'll be doing stuff on Twitter and all that stuff to talk about it. Donate to your favorite GameEnthus personality. Again, fundraising for Extra Life open until December 31st.
That's right.
100% of what gets raised goes directly to the hospital that's been chosen.
Directly.
And with that,
you emphasize die?
Oh, I didn't, but I feel like I was being told I did. But anyway, you know what? Now that you brought this up, here's a weird tangent. I watched a YouTuber, like a small one. He used to be on Peter Schreeples, if you ever watch his stuff. And he kept saying quarantine, and I'm like, I don't like this. Please stop. Like
that sounds like
I hear a lot of mispronunciations when I watch YouTube videos. People say words like zealots, and I'm like, zealots? Like what? Like.
Right, but like, and like, you could make the argument for people like, oh, whatever, like, depending
where
on
I live, that's
regional
normal.
variants or whatever. I don't think the regional variant in Alabama is quarantine.
I don't
maybe
know.
It is. So
it just sounds like a debutante style way of describing anything.
Part of me wonders if he's just trying to get around like automated YouTube stuff, because like he's never said the disease, the COVID. He calls it the sickness and whatnot. And I know stuff is being demonetized when people talk about it. So
why is that?
He's the strategist.
Because advertisers don't want to be associated with it. Like people who have the money don't want to have the money.
That's another rabbit hole.
We'll finish on that rabbit hole. I also don't know if you've seen Twitch's advice going forward for people streaming. Maybe you should mute the sound in your game. So if you've been seeing the DMCA takedowns and whatnot.
Yeah, I saw some of that stuff.
There was a Twitter support response that the Twitter support agent suggested. Why not just mute all the sound in the game?
Why not just delete your account?
Right. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back next week, Lord willing.
Yes.
All right.
Is that a fact?
That is a fact. Next Thursday.
There's a guest lined up for next week, so yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Some of us will be here.
Yep.
So,
all right.
Someone will be here. So,
have a good one, people. Don't do everything I wouldn't do.
I gotta go watch Star Trek.